from Monterrey, Mexico. Tonight, the Mets and the Padres open an historic 3-game series. Mets Baseball 96 is brought to you by Bud Light. If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light. By your Tri-State Ford dealer. By Coca-Cola, always playing, always Coca-Cola. By Nissan, who remind you that life is a journey. Enjoy the ride. And coming back home, Fernando Valenzuela, the Mexican native. And bienvenidos, Mexico. This is La Primera City, the first Major League Baseball game in the regular season played outside of the United States or Canada. It is here in the 400th anniversary of this city of Monterrey. And we understand, Ralph, you played here, and it was the 200th anniversary of the city?
It was pretty close to that. But I did play here back in 1948 with Bob Feller's All-Stars. We played in a different ballpark, obviously. And in that ball game, it was stopped in about the 7th inning, and everybody wondered why. The gate opened up in left field, the gate opened up behind first base, and 2 citizens came pumping through on a railroad track through the center of the field and on out through the other gate, and the game then continued.
That probably won't happen here tonight. But Ralph, this is a turning moment for Major League Baseball again.
I think it is, and it's a wonderful city. They have applied for a big league franchise for this city. Amazingly, if you have not been here, you would say, how come this city, not Mexico City? But this city has over 3 million people. It's really depression-proof, and they have done much better here than they have done in the other cities in Mexico.
We are really looking forward to it. Fernando Valenzuela will be on the mound, a great crowd favorite. Obviously, we'll be back for this moment in baseball history right after this from Nissan. Well, we could not have had a nicer evening for baseball here in Monterrey, Mexico, the nation's 3rd largest city behind Mexico City and Guadalajara. It has, of course, in the Mexican League its own team, which just won the Mexican League championship. So they've celebrated baseball here recently for that reason. And Ralph, the people of not only here at the Yard, but in this city, are celebrating this Major League Baseball game.
This city really is known as Southwest Texas. It's very close to the border of Texas, and they are very oriented toward the Texas area. And of course, they have the Hall of Fame of Mexico right here in Monterrey, and they've been known to have some great little league teams that have played at Williamsport. And it's a very updated type city. It's different than I remember it. I played here back in 1948. I didn't remember how spectacular the mountains are, or how high they are, the mountains that surround this area. So I guess since 1948, those mountains have grown a little bit.
That's what we decided today. Those are the Sierra Madres, the mountains that surround this city. This city really is in the valley of this beautiful area. And the people here have been absolutely wonderful to everybody involved in Major League Baseball, who they've been involved in this obviously over the last year to get this game going here. They love the game of baseball in this country. And to have Fernando Valenzuela coming back to pitch here, I'm not sure you could do much more for this first game in Mexico.
And they are really excited about this. I had lunch today with a couple of members of the Mexican-American consulate. And we had lunch at a place called Cinco Zero, which is 5-0, and it was a Hawaiian place dated after Hawaii 5-0.
Hawaii 5-0, not bad. And we want to say our broadcast here tonight is in cooperation with Major League Baseball and Televisa, the broadcast crew working here, all of the Mexican crew that broadcast sporting events and other things from this city and from other parts of this country involved in the broadcast here tonight. That'll go both back to San Diego and back to New York. And obviously we'll have a chance to talk about the expansion possibilities as Len Coleman, the president of the National League, will be coming in to talk with us during the game. And Gene Orza from the Players Association also will be dropping by. We'll get comments from the Players Association perspective on bringing baseball to Mexico in the future, and also we'll get an update on where things are as far as the negotiations are concerned. But it's a magic moment down here, and it's a big moment for Major League Baseball.
And the owner, Jose Mays, would love to be the Major League Baseball team of Mexico, and they have definitely applied for a big league franchise according to the information I've received. And this turnout here today is amazing. The prices for the tickets here are about $7 or $8 higher than the normal box seat prices. In their Mexican League play, they charge $4 for a box seat. I believe in this ball game the box seats are going for $11. So there is money in this area. There's certainly no doubt about that, and a lot of it, and a lot of manufacturing here, and this is a very, very interesting place to be.
Some people have referred to this as the Pittsburgh of Mexico back in its history. It has been very industrialized state here. Fernando Valenzuela, who's going to be the starting pitcher, is also going to be throwing out the first ball.
Well, they couldn't have picked a better man to do it. Valenzuela, the hero here in Mexico, when he was pitching in his heyday for the Dodgers. The audience on the audio of the broadcast into the entire area here in Mexico was about 3 times higher than the audience that Vince Scully ever had when broadcasting the games in English.
Fernando Valenzuela 2-0 against the Mets this season, 167 career wins. His home, where he was born in Mexico, about 800 miles from here to the southwest. He has pitched here before. Ironically, his last major league appearance with the Dodgers in an exhibition game in '91. The next day he was cut.
And this is our lineup for this ball game, a historical ball game. Lance Johnson leads it off for the Mets, and it's brought to you by our 4 dealers. Batting second, the third baseman Alvaro Espinosa. Batting third, Bernard Gilkey. Batting fourth, Todd Huntley. The 5th batter will be Carlos Baerga. Batting 6th, Alex Ochoa. Batting 7th, Edgardo Alfonso. Batting 8th, Ray Ordonez, and Robert Person, the pitcher, batting 9th.
And the defense for the Dodgers in this game, Greg Vaughn, the newly acquired, will be out there in left field. Finley's in center. Tony Gwynn around in right. Caminiti, Gomez, Shipley, and Wally Joyner in the infield with a battery of Fernando Valenzuela and Flaherty. And we are ready to go. Lance Johnson. So run your VCRs right now, and you get a look at the home plate umpires. Joe West will be behind the plate. Jerry Lane is working at first base. It'll be Hernandez down at second, and Runge, the crew chief, will be at third. And they are just waiting to clean off some of the items they had on the field for the singing of the national anthem. From microphone stands and things had to be taken off. The Metropolitan Opera here from Mexico performing both national anthems before tonight's game. And a great ovation, obviously. All of the members of both teams were introduced to the fans here and came out along each of the baselines. And Tony Gwynn and Fernando Valenzuela were the 2, as you'd expect, to get the big hand.
And the Mets have now played in their 2nd international game. They played the first international game ever played in Major League Baseball in 1969 against the Montreal Expos at Shea Stadium. And now when the first pitch is thrown, they'll be playing in their 2nd international game and the first international game ever south of Canada and the United States.
Lance Johnson standing in, and we are ready to go. And here's the first pitch for Major League Baseball in Mexico. And Lance Johnson does what he always does. He goes after it. Center field. Finley moving over out of the sun field into the shadow, puts it away. Lance Johnson retired 1 down.
So Lance Johnson, the first man to ever make an out in a Major League ball game in Mexico.
He'll take it.
Historical at bat.
And he continued doing what he does, whether he's in Canada, the U.S., or Mexico. He
first
swings
pitch.
at the first pitch.
Doesn't change no matter what country he plays in.
Alvaro Espinosa playing at third base again for the Mets. This will be his 14th start at third base for New York this season. What a job he's done with that .339 batting average that he's put up in the games he has played. Game number 18 overall for Espinosa. And Fernando Valenzuela on the mound has beaten the Mets, as we said, twice this year. 2-0 this year, 12-10 lifetime. Still throws a screwball once in a while, but it was a cut fastball that got him back into the major leagues after being cut by the Dodgers. 0-2 pitch, grounded to short, over to get it Gomez, and he can't. Base hit into center field. So the first continue to pile up.
Espinosa with that base hit up the middle, and that's his first at bat against Fernando Valenzuela.
One down, and Espinosa on at first base. That'll bring up Bernard Gilkey. They have done an enormous amount of work on this stadium and on the field in particular over the last 3 months. They have virtually rebuilt the field. It is a beautiful field and a gorgeous ballpark and a tremendous setting. Gilkey takes the pitch down low for a ball.
As Casey Stengel would have said, the grass grows well down here in Mexico.
I can't help but think of Camden Yards in Baltimore, Ralph, for the view from behind home plate looking out onto the city in Baltimore. Here you're looking out on the Sierra Madres and the hills directly behind center field. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous.
It's an imposing background. There's no doubt about that.
You don't want to try and hit one out there, I'll tell you that. You may see some fly balls, though, go out of this yard. Valenzuela pitch. Gilkey, did he hold up? They want to check at first base. He did not. Jerry Lane makes the call there. And a 2-ball 1-strike count on Gilkey.
It's short down the lines, 325 and left and right. It's deeper in right center than it is in left center. And the wind is blowing out, and the altitude here is 3,000 feet, so the ball will carry well.
Tony Gwynn went out in the outfield, was telling me before the game. He said, I got 2.5 steps before I hit the wall, which is concrete, but it is padded. And the wind is blowing from left to right and was taking fly balls that were hit to right field into foul territory. But it will carry here nevertheless. Gilkey takes the fastball inside, and he is on. Bernard Gilkey has drawn the walk off Valenzuela, and the Mets have runners on at first and second base with one away here in the first inning.
It's sort of a candlestick type wind that blows from left to right field, and the ball will carry extremely well to right field. It'll be difficult for right-hand batters if they hit it into the outfield area and left.
Valenzuela 9-7, but is on a good stretch right now where he's won 4 of his last 5, and the other one was a non-decision game. Todd Hundley stands in. Todd has got an 0 for 9 going right now, and his wrist is really bothering him. You see that right hand come off the bat. He cannot hang on to the bat for a follow through on a swing. Either way, that's where he took the pitch, his own pitcher, on a cross up on signs that came back and caught him on that lower forearm. Valenzuela misses down low to him. 1 ball and 1 strike.
And the worst part about that, he got charged for a pass ball.
And he'll have the protector on, we believe, tonight when he's catching again. But when he hits, obviously, he's got to take it off in order to be able to swing the bat. Valenzuela's screwball misses outside to him. And he's behind on the count to Todd Hundley. 2 balls and 1 strike. Mike Covich down at third base. Mets have got Espinosa on at second and Gilkey on at first with 1 away. About 89 degrees at game time. Lots and lots of blue sky. A beautiful day. And a strike on the inside corner. I was familiar with the Southwest in the U.S. Very little humidity here, even though the temperature gets up over 100 degrees a number of times during the summer here in Monterrey. Ralph and I are talking, it's really unseasonably cool here today and tonight. Missed outside with that one, and the count goes full. 3 balls, 2 strikes.
And very little chance of rain here this time of year.
3-game series, which they have labeled La Primera Serie. Signs all over the city here at the ballpark indicating that. 3-2 count on Hundley. Still second behind Sosa in home runs. Back off Valenzuela's glove and tipped at Gomez. Won the return throw by Shipley, not in time. It'll go 1-6-4 on the force out at second base. I thought he'd take that himself. I was surprised when he flipped it over.
He was close enough to the bag to try for the double play without using the second baseman, and that ball is sure double play if Valenzuela had been able to field it and he should have fielded that ball. He is a good fielding pitcher. He doesn't look like an athlete. He's heavy, but he certainly is an outstanding athlete.
That'll bring up Carlos Baerga. 2 down, runners on at first and third for the Mets. Baerga, RBI opportunity here. Outfield will play him deep. Sunfield is in left right now. It won't be for much longer. But Greg Vaughn's the only player now left with sunshine surrounding him. Valenzuela, left-hander, supposedly 35 years old. Your guess as good as anybody else's. That's what they have officially. Chopped out in front of the plate. Valenzuela picks it up, makes the flip to Wally Joyner, and that'll do it. Baerga's retired. The Mets no runs, a hit. They leave runners on at first and third. Padres coming up after this from your local Dodge dealer. Here in Monterrey, Mexico, Robert Person has drawn the owners for the New York Mets, and he certainly has won the right to be a starter for the Mets. He has won 2, lost 2, and had 3 no decisions in the starts that he has made this season, and he has been very impressive both out of the bullpen and as a starter, and he's just pitched so well. There's no way you're going to keep him off the mound.
And the Padre lineup is brought to you by Honda.
Robert Person has not had an appearance against the San Diego Padres, so not only the first time the Padres line up, we'll have a chance to take a look at it.
And the Padre lineup. The Padre lineup is brought to you by Tony Gwynn and also by Honda, as Tony will lead it off. Batting second, the first baseman Wally Joyner. Batting third, Steve Finley. Batting fourth, Ken Caminetti. Batting fifth, Greg Vaughn. Batting sixth, John Flaherty. Batting seventh, Craig Shipley. Batting eighth, Chris Gomez. And Fernando Valenzuela batting ninth.
Tony Gwynn getting back off the DL and working out in right field. That one bouncing high. Gwynn, of course, missed one of many players who have been missed by the San Diego Padre team this season, as he had the Achilles heel problem. Came off the DL after missing 31 games with a 6-time batting champion.
.340 batting average, but it's doubtful he'll qualify for the batting championship. Piazza's leading the league at .342. Grace at .338.
And he'll need to get some at-bats as well as get the average. 3 ball, 1 strike count. Robert Person, who likes to rock along, comes in with a fastball on Gwynn and takes it full. Tony is feeling good, though, and this Padre team, of course, tied for first right now with the Los Angeles Dodgers, so they are in a pennant chase. This is their home game, of course, and he draws the walk. Oh, Robert Person, who surrendered only 18 in 57 innings, gives one up there for the New York Mets defensively. Gilkey, Johnson, and Ochoa in the outfield. Espinosa, Ordonez, Alfonso, and Baerga the infield, and Hundley and Person the battery for the Mets. Padres have won 5 of the 7 games these two teams have played this season. San Diego Padres officially coming off a road trip. They went 5-5 in, and they lost their last 3 against Cincinnati. Foul back. Wally Joyner. Look out for those.
And this is technically a home game for the San Diego Padres, and the game originally moved to Monterrey, Mexico, because of the Republican convention going on in San Diego.
Then it was found they really didn't have to move it, but Major League Baseball wanted to get a regular season game in down here and see how it went over. Person will step off with Gwynn on at first base. They look for the double play here. Left-handers have hit only 194 off Robert Person this year, and he misses up high with that. A ball and a strike on Joyner. Chance for a double play here if the Mets can get the ground ball. Outfield deep and straight away on Joyner. He hits that towards second. Alfonso over, makes the play. Ordonez scoops it out. Nice play to get the out at second on Tony Gwynn. Ray Ordonez had to make a short hop on the infield side of the bag.
Very good play by Alfonso, getting to that ball and getting the lead runner, and a wonderful play by Ordonez to save a throwing error as he took a very tough hop and turned it into that force play.
Runner on at first base, one away. And that will bring up Steve Finley. Finley is having a great offensive season. The center fielder for the Padres is 6th in the league in hits, 2nd in runs scored, and he leads the league in doubles. So he is a gap hitter, ideally made for the ballpark in San Diego.
One of the most underrated ball players in the National League. He had a 21-game hitting streak earlier this year.
37 doubles for him, rips that one to right field, losing it. Ochoa looking back, way back, goodbye home run, the first in Mexico by a major league player, Steve Finley, and the Padres have a 2-0 lead.
Seventh home run given up by Robert Person in 57 innings of work. And I don't know how you say giddy up and go in Spanish, but that had a lot of giddy up and go. It was out of here almost before you could turn around and look.
325 down that line. And that is number 20 on the season for Steve Finley, his 20th home run, and numbers 70 and 71 in runs batted in. And a quick 2-0 lead. Ken Caminiti up.
And a career high for Steve Finley in home runs with those 20. He is having an outstanding year.
You get those kind of career years sometimes on ball clubs that are having the kind of year the Padres are. They are 65 and 58, tied for first. It's those kind of years that make those kinds of numbers possible. Caminiti, big uppercut on that one. He is gone. Fastballs thrown by Robert Person, and there are 2 away. First strikeout for Person in the game. Caminiti retired. Greg Vaughn acquired for the home run power from the right side that the Padres felt they needed to have in this lineup. He has 34 home runs this year. 3 of those have come for the Padres. To right field, Alex Ochoa. Having trouble seeing it off the bat, but he finds it, lines it up, and that'll do it. But the 2-run homer by Steve Finley, with Wally Joyner ahead of him, has given the Padres a 2-0 lead after 1. Now this from infinity. 2-run homer by Finley, and the San Diego Padres get on the board first here in Monterrey and have the 2-0 lead. The Mets here in the second inning will have Ochoa, Alfonso, and Ordonez coming up. Ochoa 1 for 8 during the last brief homestand the Mets had. Takes that one outside. Batting at 297 overall with 13 doubles, triple, and 3 home runs for extra base hits this year. Valenzuela misses outside to him. 2 balls and no strikes.
Ochoa's first time against the left-hander, and he is a tough pitcher to bat against if you haven't really seen how he does pitch. He works a very good game.
Still has about 100 speeds for every pitch that he throws. He'll really keep you off balance.
Still rolls those eyes up like he's looking for help before he throws to the plate. His eyeballs go straight up over the bill of his cap and looking high in the sky.
And Ochoa's on. So that is the second walk given up by Valenzuela in the game. A leadoff walk here in the second inning. Valenzuela has walked 47 in 129 innings with 72 strikeouts. So about 2-to-1 ratio on that, which is pretty high for walks. And gives up the leadoff walk here in the second. Edgardo Alfonso. Alfonso on the year at 237. Started to get the bat going during that homestand the Mets had as he went 4 for 10. Valenzuela missing on that one. Check see whether or not the hit and run might be on here. Joyner holding. at first base on Ochoa. Brings that one in at the knees. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Bobby Wine, the third base coach for the Mets, played in that 1969 game between the Mets and Montreal, the first international game ever played in a major league schedule.
Ochoa checking with Covage at third, with Wally Joyner holding the bag on him. Flaherty behind the plate has not had good success in throwing base runners out, only 16%. But Fernando is very tough to run on. A left-hander who, in addition to that, has a good move over there to first base. 1 ball, 2 strikes. I think he will do sometimes, though, is put a ball in the dirt. 5 wild pitches. With the wide assortment he throws, that'll happen.
That screwball he throws is very effective when it's down and away from a right-hand batter.
Chase that one. First strikeout for Fernando. And there's one away. Ochoa still on at first base with Ray Ordonez coming up. Ray Ordonez did not get a hit in that last homestand, as he ended up with an 0 for 8. Ray, who at one time, 2.5 months really of this season, led rookie hitters when he was well over 300. Now at 259 on the year. Still, that's about what the Mets thought they would get from him.
Well, they're getting exactly what they had hoped for. He did have a very good surge early in the year.
Valenzuela with a check of Ochoa. And the fastball is there for a strike on the outside corner. Fernando's wins against the New York Mets this season. The opening game they played against one another on the 13th of May, he won 5-2 against Jason Isringhausen. And the last one, a 13-1 win, May 24, again against Isringhausen in New York. Souvenir fouled back into the second deck. And a 2-strike count.
Valenzuela's last outing was against Florida, and he defeated the Florida Marlins. That gave him a win against every National League club. So he has done the complete job of defeating every team in the National League. That's not easy to do with expansion.
Yeah, you got to be around a while. You got an 0-2 count here. Ordonez, off-speed pitch, filed back over the screen. And it stays a 2-strike count. This ballpark seats 26,500, the official capacity. They will have close to a sellout, if not a sellout, for this game. And they're hoping the same for the remaining 2. Lots of fans here in Monterrey, Mexico. Buy seats on day of game. That is the habit here, so there's a big walk-up of sales. 0-2 pitch is outside, 1-2.
They're not used to having sellouts here and advance sale tickets because of the fact that this is a big minor league type ballpark. It's patterned after Jack Murphy. Jackie Murphy Stadium.
1-2 count. They got him picked off. Ochoa to Joyner. Ochoa is gone. Gomez, the shortstop, coming over. He was off and running, and Valenzuela caught him leaning.
Well, as you pointed out, Gary, he does have a good move to first base. He has a lot of motion, and like all left-hand pitchers, when they go to first base, they don't step over, which is in the rule book. You have to step right at the bag, and he gave you that halfway step, and it's no chance at all for Ochoa on the attempted steal.
Oh, Valenzuela helping himself there. That takes care of the leadoff walk he gave up to Ochoa. And now there are 2 down and a 2-2 count on Ray Ordonez. Jammed him, fouled off over by the San Diego dugout. Teams are a bit concerned coming in about what they would have for quality of hotels here. Well, let me tell you, it's great.
First class all the way, and the service is outstanding, and the people, as you mentioned, Gary, are just delightful to be around.
Yeah, can't do enough for you. Here's the 2-2 delivery. Had to reach and wait on that one to center field. Finley will drift in. That'll retire Ordonez and the Mets. So despite a leadoff walk, Valenzuela faces only 3, and the Padres have the 2-0 lead going to the bottom of the second after this from your Tri-State Ford dealer.
Well, there's a break in the action. Ought to be a great time to break for the great taste of Bud Light. It's a big hit with fans everywhere because it won't fill you up and never let you down. So make it a Bud Light Cerveza.
So there, La Primera City, and the San Diego Padres, who have the fans on their side here, obviously, and have the 2-0 lead going to the bottom half of the second inning. Homer by Finley has put them up. Flaherty, Shipley, and Gomez facing Robert Person, who gets the strike on the outside corner. Person, opposition hitting only .225 off him coming into this game, but as Ralph said, the home runs have jumped up on it 7 times now. Still a very respectable .305 earned run average. Flaherty doing the catching. Takes that pitch outside. He's got a 4-game hit streak going right now. Had a career high 27-game hit streak.
At a .375 over those 27 straight games with at least 1 base hit. It went from June 21st to July 27th. The record for the longest hitting streak, Benito Santiago, with 34 consecutive games with at least 1 base hit. And he did that as a rookie. The all-time record for rookie players.
John Flaherty coming over from the Detroit Tigers with Chris Gomez, Fernando Cedeno, Brad Ausmus, and pitcher Russ Spear. Left center field, not particularly deep, Bernard Gilkey. And Flaherty's the first out here in the second inning. Padres, of course, have made some moves to try and improve this team. The big deal with Detroit, and of course Greg Vaughn coming over from Milwaukee, adding power to their lineup. There are deals that have helped them along this season and probably will do so the rest of the way. Craig Shipley, the second baseman, takes the fastball from Person up high.
And Shipley missed 65 games this year. Just got off the DL on July 31st.
We've had a number of important players on the DL, and yet we're able to maintain closeness in that race in the West, where it has been tight all year. Shipley's going to have a base hit into the corner. Ochoa going back to get it. Comes off the wall to him. Ochoa into second base, but it'll be a stand-up double. So Craig Shipley gets a 2-bagger with 1 down here in the second. For Shipley, that'll be his 5th double of the year.
He hit this ball very well, and Ochoa out in right field made a very good throw into second base. Ordonez tried to give the decoy and make it look like no throw was coming, and it was fairly close.
Ended up going off the back of Shipley. The ball did. Runner at second base, 1 away, and the fastball is inside to Gomez. Chris Gomez, who we were talking about, coming over to play at shortstop, 25 years old, .239 career average coming into this season. He's better than that this year, including .273 for an average since joining the Padres.
And his first hit broke up a no-hitter that Smoltz was pitching for the Atlanta Braves. It was a home run. First hit for the San Diego Padres.
Be the 51st game for Gomez as a San Diego Padre. Robert Person misses outside with that. 2 balls, 1 strike, 1 down, 2-0 lead for the Padres. Gomez and then Valenzuela, a very good hitting pitcher, due up here in the Padres half of the second inning. Fastball he didn't get around on, fouls it off. 2-2. We'll get to see the lights here, obviously, before the game's done in this ballpark in Monterrey, which they also upgraded for this game, adding some lights. It's probably about a AAA level field. likewise. 2-2 the count. And Gomez off the fist pops it up to short. Ray Ordonez. 2 down. Valenzuela will get the hand.
He has a lifetime batting average of .203 with 10 home runs and 81 runs batted in with 182 hits. The most home runs, runs batted in, and hits by any active pitcher in Major League Baseball.
8 for 47 this year for Fernando. Runner on at second base with 2 down. A chance to help himself. Shipley, the base runner. And Person makes something off on that one. Valenzuela looking fastballs way out in front of it.
Valenzuela, when he was playing as an amateur baseball player, was a switch hitter. But when he joined the Dodgers, they wouldn't let him hit from the right-hand side. They wanted him to protect that valuable left arm.
And good reason for that. Person ahead on the count here. No balls, 2 strikes. Mets beginning, of course, the West Coast Mexico trip. They'll go to San Francisco and Los Angeles after these 3 games here in Monterrey. Again, an off-speed delivery, misses up high and away, a ball and 2 strikes. We will have all 3 of these ball games for you here on WWOR. Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. That one misses down low, and it's 2-2. Bobby Jones, Pete Harnish, and those on the DL not making the trip with the Mets. Fouled off by Valenzuela. The guys in the clubhouse wanted to make sure to say to Pete Harnish, Pete, they don't miss you, and you do not need to come to San Francisco. And John Franco wanted you to know Florsheim shoes are on sale here in Monterrey. Here's the 2-2 slap foul.
One of the things about the hotel that we're staying in, it's across the street from a very modern shopping mall. And it's outstanding, and the shoe values are unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Pete's crying now. Here's the 2-2. Jammed him. Fernando fights that one off. I said, Ralph, now there is absolutely no reason why Monterrey cannot be a major league city. It has a very nice hotel with a big mall right across the street. Those are the 2 items you need to have. And you've got those, you're in.
And in the ballpark, they sell tacos. Got everything you want.
Everything you want. Hot cheese on the nachos. Here's the 2-2. Foul back again.
When we got into this broadcast booth right in back of home plate, we were talking about the possibility of foul balls into the broadcast booth. It's a very, very strong possibility.
Yes. That one missed by 1 booth. Fernando's putting on quite an exhibition, and they're this at bat. Robert Person had gotten ahead of him. 2 strikes. It's now 2-2, and he has fouled off a half dozen here, just battling away on tough pitches. Runner at second base is Shipley, with the Padres leading 2-0. 2 down. Hit in the air. Right center. Lance Johnson. Valenzuela retired, but it wasn't easy. No runs. The double by Shipley. A runner left on. Padres still up 2-0 after 2. Now this from Bud Light. It's at the hotel where the 2 teams are staying, and the Padres played Cincinnati yesterday, so they got in late. When the Mets arrived in the afternoon, the band was there. When the Padres arrived at night, the band was there, and the band's here for numero uno in Mexico.
Great music, and of course, when you came into this ballpark, arriving at the ballpark a couple of hours before the ball game, all kinds of musical instruments being played out in the area where you enter the ballpark. Reminds you a little bit of Chicago in a way.
Great celebration.
Real happening here.
Robert Person can't hold up on the Valenzuela screwball. 2-0 lead on the home run picked up by Steve Finley in the first inning has put the Padres on top. A couple of hits for the Padres. New York Mets have had the one single by Espinosa. Second base, Shipley, Wally Joyner, and Person is retired. Jerry Lane down there, the umpire, with Wally Joyner. This infield, which before the work was done on it, was very hard and very fast, and the grass very spotty. Is not much of that left here. It's in very good shape.
Padres shipped over their entire ground crew from San Diego for a week's work on this ballpark, and they have done a wonderful job on the playing field.
Lance Johnson on this one to shallow left field. Vaughn moving in will put that one away, and Johnson's 0 for 2. He is flying out twice, 2 away in the third inning. Valenzuela has been tough on the Mets this year. And if he can start the game by keeping you off stride and you don't line him up early, he can really be a problem for you. 2 away. Alvaro Espinosa.
He's had about 3 comebacks. They thought he was through when the Dodgers didn't sign him, and he moved around, was released by a couple other ball clubs, came down to Mexico to pitch for a while, went back in the major leagues.
I was talking with him before the game tonight, and that one lined by Espinosa, fair ball into the left field corner. Vaughn going over to get it, and Alvaro Espinosa has the Mets 2 hits now, a single and a 2-out double here in the third inning. Valenzuela said that he has pitched here 91 with the Dodgers. The exhibition game he pitched, he got cut. He has been back, he said, 3 times since then to pitch here in Monterrey while playing Mexican League ball. But this, of course, back as a member of the Padres at the major league level. Team that calls itself the home team here is the Monterrey Sultans, who won that Mexican League championship last week for the 2nd year in a row. Bernard Gilkey at the plate, 2 down, runner on at second base. That's with 2 hits in the game now and trying to get one in. Gilkey, who continues to be among the top 5 with runners in scoring position, has the opportunity right here, and he grounds that one towards the hole. Gomez over to get it. His throw in the dirt, scooped out nicely by Wally Joyner. No runs, a double by Espinosa. Runner left on at second base. Bottom of the third coming up. Padres leading it after this from Coke Classic. Well, a great shot right there. You're looking from our booth perspective out of the field here in Monterrey to the Sierra Madre Mountains out beyond center field and beyond the city. Talking about the Sultans, and there is their mascot here tonight. Can't ask for a much more beautiful sunset than we've had last night, tonight again. Just gorgeous.
If you look out over center field in Los Angeles at Dodger Stadium, you also look at the Sierra Madre Mountains, only they're not the same range.
Oh.
They don't extend that far.
Some 4 million people here in the city of Monterrey, Mexico. The country is divided up like the United States into states. Nuevo Leon is the state that Monterrey is a city in, a resort city, in fact. A beautiful downtown area with a great mall, wonderful art museums. Tony Gwynn leads it off here, and it's known as a city where many of the Mexican people come for vacation times because it is in the Sierra Madres. And that creates some lakes and rivers and waterfront areas over here that do well as vacation spots. Gwynn with a 1-1 count, batting at .340 on the season. Drew a walk his first time up. Tony's got a base hit. Bernard Gilkey. So Tony Gwynn, a single to lead off the third inning here for San Diego.
And this is a patented Tony Gwynn base hit. A line drive to the opposite field. He's one of the toughest batters to strike out. Goes with the pitch, drills it out over the left field, and picks up his first hit of the game. Tony Gwynn last Wednesday picked up his 2,500th major league base hit against Cincinnati.
A tremendous accomplishment for this great Hall of Fame player. He will be there in the future. He's on at first base now. The Padres have 3 hits off Robert Person. Wally Joyner reached on a fielder's choice and scored ahead of Finley on the home run in the first inning. They hold Gwynn at first base. Fastball is taken for a strike at the knees by Joyner. 1 ball, 1 strike. Take a look at our National League scoreboard. And we are delighted to have you with us. We're in our first of 3 on WWOR here in Monterrey. Person, the long look over to first. Carlos Baerga holding the bag. Wally Joyner straightened up by a fastball that's inside. And our Toyota American League scoreboard. 2 balls, 1 strike.
Tony Gwynn can steal bases. He has 9 out of 11 so far this year. So he is not a stationary runner.
Robert Person, the fastball, trying to keep it down and away, a little too much in both directions. 3 balls, 1 strike on Joyner. One of the things that happens for both these teams, of course, is getting over all of the excitement about playing in this situation and just get back to the game. 3-1 delivery, and he walks it. So Joyner is on for Person. The second walk, he surrendered in the game, and the Padres have something going here in the 3rd inning as their first 2 base runners are on, with the middle of the order coming up. Baerga and Hundley both going out to the mound here. Set up the defensive alignment for the Mets with the left-handers. Steve Finley, who cracked the home run to right field. Career high 20th home run for him. Upping his RBI output now to 71. And he's pushing in on that 300 batting average. Career highs in homers, RBIs, and doubles with 37. What a season he is having. Just missed as he leaned back and actually almost into that pitch.
And a good crowd reaction here. Thinking it was a knockdown pitch. It was a slider, so certainly not the intent to knock the batter down.
Again back inside by Person, this time on the corner. 1-1.
One thing about playing in Mexico, which I found out many years ago, that when they whistle here, it's not for appreciation. It's like booing.
You'll hear it often in the course of the game here as these fans stay in the game. 1 ball, 1 strike count. Runners at first and second almost get away. Todd Hundley reaching up to haul that one down. Person having trouble now staying ahead of the hitters. 2 ball, 1 strike count here. That has not been a problem for him in the starts he's made with the Mets. Previous starts. It's his 21st game, but his 8th start. And that one ripped. It is a foul ball. Was that close? Exploded that one down the first baseline.
Jerry Lane, the first base umpire, had to dodge the ball before making the call. That ball hit right at him.
Finley's just having one of those years where he's on the mark. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Tony Gwynn down at second. Wally Joyner on at first. Nobody out. Infield double play depth. Fastball just missed. Tried to cut that inside corner, and the count goes full. 3 balls, 2 strikes on Finley. Finley and Lance Johnson both in this game and both up there among the top 10 in hits in the National League. Runners go 3-2, and he fouls another one off. Runners going with nobody out here in the 3rd. Tony Gwynn back to second base. Wally Joyner back to first. Finley with an RBI opportunity right here. That one drilled. That hit the top. Fair ball. Late call by Baerga signaling it was foul. 1 run coming home. Tony Gwynn. It'll be a double and a 3-0 lead for the San Diego Padres. Steve Finley.
Third RBI for Finley in this ball game, and he flirted with an extra base hit. His pitch before the actual double, and with that base hit, it's a 3-0 ball game, and runners at second and third with nobody out.
One exploded right off the chalk down the line at first base. Tony Gwynn scoring easily. Was hit so hard though, Ochoa got it back, and that held up the base runner at third. So Wally Joyner on at third base. Infield will be drawn in now with the cleanup batter Ken Caminiti taking that big uppercut. 3-0 Padre lead. They've got 4 hits off Robert Person. Nobody out here in the third inning. So the Mets have moved the infield in to try and cut the run down on a ground ball. That runner being Wally Joyner.
Rather unusual this early in the ball game to play the infield in with your cleanup batter up and nobody out and runners at second and third.
Caminiti's .348 with runners in scoring position this season. Among the regulars, he is right there along with Tony Gwynn and Wally Joyner is the top 3 in that department, and all 3 of them are up over the .340 mark. Infield stays in. 2 ball 1 strike count. Caminiti with that big cut fouls it back. 2-2.
Person struck him out his last time up, and he struck him out with a fastball, and that was a fastball right there that he fouled off.
He has got that pronounced uppercut. He loves to hit the long ball, and he can. He's hit safely in 36 of the last 47 games, and he's turned on that one. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Person trying to back him off, keep him honest, so he does not get those arms outstretched. When he does, he could put one not only into the seats but beyond them. 3-2 pitch to him, a chop. Runner at third. Joyner holds. Alfonso makes the play to first, and the infield in works as Caminiti grounds out 4-3. Wally Joyner stayed at third base.
Good job by Alfonso, the second baseman, to take a long look at the runner at third. Runner at third base. Joyner came down the line about 10 yards and had an idea about going home on the throw to first base, but Alfonso held him there a long time and kept that from happening.
Here is Greg Vaughn now. He flied out to right field his first time up, takes the fastball up high, ball 1. Vaughn with great power. He's got the RBI opportunity here. Infield will stay in. Dangerous with the middle of this order up hard hitters, but it worked on Caminiti. Good fastball by Robert Person. Blew that one by him. 1 ball 1 strike on Vaughn.
Vaughn is 1 for 12 with runners in scoring position for the Padres. He certainly did well when he was with Milwaukee. He had 95 runs batted in before the trade.
Just catches the corner. Good pitch. 1 ball 2 strike count on Vaughn. With Milwaukee, 31 homers to go with those 95 RBIs, and he had a very strong .280 batting average. 3-0 Padres on top. They've added 1 here in the third. Person swung on and missed, struck him out. Robert Person gets his second strikeout. Vaughn retired, a big out right there. And now 2 down.
Big strikeout. Now the infield could drop back, and if they can get Flaherty out here, Person will have pitched out of a very tough jam.
John Flaherty, 28 years old, just a .229 career hitter coming into this season, doing the catching for the Padres. 2 in scoring position. Center field. Lance Johnson started in, has to back up near the warning track, over his head, bounces off that high wall. 2 runs have scored, and the Padres have a 5-0 lead. John Flaherty. Lance Johnson started in on that ball, Ralph, and never was able to catch up.
Toughest play for the center fielder is a ball hit right at him on the line, and this was a line drive right at Johnson. It's not easy to pick the ball up in this twilight, and Johnson unable to get started the right way. And a big 2-out double that drove in 2 big runs.
So Flaherty continues to do great work here, well above what he had done in his career, average wise, RBI wise, and any other wise.
Here's a look at the line drive to center field. You don't see Johnson go in before he goes back, but now he can't catch up to it. And a very valuable hit.
He's at second base. Craig Shipley, he puts that one to right field. Alex Ochoa started over, has to come in and makes the catch as the outfielders struggle a bit here trying to pick up the ball. But a big 3-run third inning for San Diego, and they have got a 5-0 lead. Back after this from your local Honda dealer. Look at our line score through the first 3 innings. The San Diego Padres using the extra base hits in this game. Finley's home run, then Finley's double, and then Flaherty's double, and they've piled up a 5-0 lead on Robert Person, and the fans here in Monterrey, Ralph Kiner, have had all kinds of things to cheer about.
And they are here. It's a full house in Monterrey, Mexico. The first game ever played south of Canada and the United States by 2 Major League Ball clubs. And for the Mets, it'll be Todd Hundley to lead it off. Todd grounded into a forced play his first time up. On the mound, Fernando Valenzuela, 9-7 on the year, and 2 of those wins against the Mets against no losses. Hundley at .263, 36 home runs, 93 runs batted in. He has a chance to set home run records and RBI records for the New York Mets. Darryl Strawberry had 39 home runs, and that is the Mets record in home runs. And the pitch to Hundley, a breaking ball, and they count 1 ball and 1 strike. The RBI record for any Mets player is 117 by Howard Johnson. He did that back in 1991. And Hundley with 93, a chance to break that record. And Valenzuela misses with a fastball in the count. 2 balls and 1 strike. It'll be Hundley, Baerga, and Ochoa for the Mets as they try to get on the scoreboard. Mets trailing 5-0, and Hundley skies it to the shortstop side. Chris Gomez right there to make the play. So Hundley the first out here in the 4th inning. That'll bring up Carlos Baerga. Carlos bounced back to the pitcher his first time up. With runners at first and second base to end the first inning. Mets have left 3 on. They've had only 2 base hits, and both of those hits by Espinosa. Valenzuela 12-10 against the Mets in his career. And Baerga takes the first pitch, a fastball for ball 1. Valenzuela with 167 career wins, 140 losses. And that one a breaking ball high in the count. 2 balls and no strikes. The first of 3 coming your way from Monterrey, Mexico. And ball 3, 3 balls and no strikes. This stadium is called Estado de Bisbal. And that pitch a strike. It's 3 balls and 1 strike. Seats 26,500, and they're all here today. In fact, the bleacher area really packed, and they have standing room only in the bleacher area and back of the batter's eye in center field.
A lot of folks did indeed come in late buying game tickets here today to fill the seats up in those bleacher seats once the sun had set over in right field. The folks who had kind of been wandering around, I think, went out there and are standing. That was the sun field for the sunset part of this day.
3-2 the count to Carlos Baerga, batting from the right hand side with that open stance. And ball 4. So the first walk
picked up by Erga, and the Mets have a base runner with 1 man out here in the 4th inning, and Alex Ochoa, the batter. 3rd walk issued by Valenzuela in this game. Ochoa walked his first time up. Also in this game, Bernard Yoki walked back in the 1st inning. So the Mets have had base runners in every inning, but they haven't scored. They're trailing by a score of 5-0. And Ochoa looks at his strike for strike 1. Ochoa batting .297 with 3 home runs, 26 runs batted in.
See, Wally Joyner's not holding by Erga with that abdominal muscle pull he's got. The Padres don't think he's going to go anywhere, so they'll let him wander off the bag, and Joyner will just play behind him.
In today's baseball, with all the scouts in the ballpark, day in and day out, they know everything you can do.
And every game's televised, Ralph. A lot of the scouts pick up a lot of the information by taping games.
What they don't see, they tape. And that pitch is outside. And speaking of taping games, well, this one is live, and Televisa, along with Major League Baseball, bringing this game to you via satellite.
See that patch he's got on his arm? That's like La Prima Sera we were talking about, the Premier Series. The players have patches they're wearing, San Diego.
And a ball call, so the count now 3-1. Marge Schott, the condemned owner of the Cincinnati Reds, was very unhappy with their scouting department. She said they're seeing too many games.
That's a new one for the scouts to hear, isn't it?
That's what they're paid to do. And the pitch back foul down the right side, and the count goes to 3-2. 3-2. 3-2 with a runner at first base, 1 man out. See whether or not Mayorga will be in motion. I would doubt it with that abdominal pull that he has.
Waiting here, some of the coverage on the wall in the outfield on the right field line came loose and was flapping over in foul territory, and Tony Gwynn went over to help the fans who are holding it up.
A man for all seasons, Tony Gwynn. The runner does not go, and the ball is popped up in foul territory, and it is playable. John Flaherty, the catcher, puts it away, 2 men away. Mayorga still at first base, and the batter coming up for the Mets will be Edgardo Alfonso.
For those who may not have looked at a map here, as we did, Ralph, you didn't have to. I did, though, when we were coming to Monterrey to see where it was. About an hour and a half from Dallas, and you're flying basically south, little southeast, I guess. It's considered Monterrey is in the northeastern section of Mexico, very far north, in fact, as far as Mexicans are concerned. This
and
big country.
They do call this Southwest Texas down here.
Yeah, you're not far from Brownsville, Texas.
That's true.
That's pretty close.
First pitch is fouled away by Alfonso, who was struck out his first time up. Valenzuela got him swinging at a fastball. And again, the pitch to Alfonso, this time a fastball taken for a ball, 1 ball and 1 strike. Larry Lucchino, the operating man for the San Diego Padres, is looking for expansion in his market. In his market, of course, San Diego, bordered by a lot of problems. There's a fly ball to center field, a routine play for the center fielder, Steve Finley, and he puts it away for the out that retires his side. A walk and 1 left. The score at the end of 3.5 innings. The San Diego Padres 5, the New York Mets nothing. And here's a word from nobody beats the Wiz.
This game is brought to you by Nobody Beats the Wiz Total Home Entertainment Centers. And by your Tri-State Toyota dealer. I love what you do for me, Toyota.
Bottom of the 4th, 2 runs in the first for the Padres on a 2-run home run by Steve Finley. The Padres sent 7 to the plate in the 3rd, scored 3 of them. And as we go to the bottom of the 4th inning, it's 5-0 San Diego. Chris Gomez will lead it off. Gomez batting 8th in the batting order as Robert Person works here in the 4th inning for the New York Mets. Gomez popped to the shortstop his first time up. And Person with a high fastball for ball 1. We're talking about Larry Lucchino, the operating man for the San Diego Padres in that expanding market. Padres have the Dodgers and California Angels to the north of them. Fly ball hit the center field. Johnson getting a late start, but has time to get to it, and he puts it away, 1 away. On the west side of San Diego is the Pacific Ocean. On the east side, the desert. And of course, the Mexican border right near San Diego, about 20 miles away on the south. And the only way he can expand would be to go to the south. And he was very instrumental in putting this series together here in Monterrey.
They'd like to play some more games down here.
And Valenzuela ducks away, and the ball hits his bat for strike 1.
One of the problems, Ralph, this season that's happened is San Diego leads all major league teams in the largest increase in attendance at home. They're up 83%. So to pull your team away this year just happened to work out that way. How many of those can you take away from your home crowd?
Not too many, I would think, but I think they would like to expand into this area, and Monterrey is the logical place. Mexico City, which has 20 million people, is not very logical because of the problems of a ballpark. They have an antiquated ballpark in Mexico City, and also the fact that it is at a very low depressionary state. And Valenzuela, who flied to center field, will take it back to the bench on the strikeout. 3rd strikeout for Person, and it will bring up Tony Gwynn.
You see the U.S. presence here as far as business is concerned, too. Everywhere you go in Monterrey, U.S. businesses, everything from fast food restaurants to soda companies, beer companies are very much prevalent in the mall stores you'd see in a typical mall in the United States.
There's an interesting story about Mexico City with their 20 million people and an antiquated ballpark. As Tony Gwynn jumps away for ball 1, the Mexican League has plans for a new 40,000 seat stadium in the Mexican capital, and they can build that 45,000 seat stadium for a cost of $28 million, but they can't find where to get the $28 million. They asked the president of the Mexican League how would they get that money, and he replied, if God likes baseball, then I'll get it.
There you go.
There's the answer as Gwynn takes a strike, and they count at 3 balls and 1 strike to Tony Gwynn. Tony has a single and a walk in his 2 at-bats. And it's fouled back out of play. Mexican League president is Pedro Cisneros, and they have sent some 70 players to Major League Baseball out of the Mexican League. High pop up on the first base side. Baerga puts it away, and that will retire the side. A 1-2-3 inning for the first time for Robert Person, and the score at the end of 4, the Padres 5, the Mets nothing. And here's a word from your local Dodge dealer. Nothing, the Padres, and we have with us a very distinguished gentleman, the president of the National League, Leonard Coleman. And Leonard, welcome to our broadcast booth. And the last time I saw you was in Cooperstown. This is quite a ways from Cooperstown.
It sure is, but 2 great days, Ralph.
And the first pitch to Ray Ordonez bounced out to the shortstop, Gomez, and this sort of first base for a quick out. Well, Leonard, they call this a Primera Serie. And it certainly is all of that. The first series in Mexico, and what would be the outcome of this? Is there a possible chance of expansion coming down here?
I think so. It's Mexico certainly in our minds and in our hearts in terms of baseball, and I think potentially you could see a franchise in Mexico.
We were really impressed with everything that's taken place since we've been down here. It is a lovely city. And certainly the people here, there are enough people to support baseball, and the economy here is outstanding, as you would not think when you hear all the stories about the state of Mexico.
Yeah, Ralph, the people have been gracious and just wonderful, and I think they get an up arrow in just every respect. And you hear see the enthusiasm in the stands, and we're very bullish on baseball in Mexico.
A batter for the New York Mets, Robert Person. Robert grounded out to second his first time up, batting against Fernando Valenzuela, and a swinging strike, 1-2.
Leonard, assuming that the deal is done, which we are all praying for, the expansion plans, what are they?
Well, I think we're still don't have anything definite on the table in terms of expansion plans. I think it'll be a while before we think about expanding again. As you know, we've got the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Tampa Bay Devil Rays coming into the league here in another couple of years, and so I think we'll get footed with them before we move out again.
But totally, with the way baseball is run today, you just can't say this is all that we're going to do. There are certainly other cities that could support expansion teams.
Absolutely, and there's still an expansion committee. Ralph, I just don't think we'll be doing it in the next year or two. I think it's probably going to be in the new millennium before we would have a couple of more teams on the field, and then I would expect that you would see us round off with, in all probability, 2 16-team leagues. What about a team like San Diego playing regular season games here? Is that something that could happen for a few years? You know, we're looking at this experience, and if it is as successful every night as it is this evening, I think potentially we could play games here in Mexico each year. With different teams, or would there be just one? I think probably different teams. It was baseball international, and you know, we like to think baseball is a game with no borders, and certainly if you look at the composition of the various teams, there's an international makeup of them. Padres have an Australian player on their team, and as you know, the Caribbean, and players now from Korea and Japan. So players are coming from everywhere, and we'd like to think we can take the game every place.
And the batter after the strikeout to Robert Person is Lance Johnson, and they count 2 balls and 1 strike. Television certainly has to be the factor.
Very strong factor, and it's, you know, there's the Mexican television here has been super in terms of their cooperation with us too.
And Lance Johnson picks up a base hit as he singles through the infield, and the Mets have a runner on with 2 men out, with Espinosa coming to the plate. Espinosa a single and a double. Well, just the fact that this game televised out of here will go on to the United States, and the ratings on this game certainly should be exceptionally good. The coverage, the press coverage of over 100 people right here makes it interesting too. Yeah, it's sensational, and you know, you were here for an evening of history. First pitch that was ever thrown outside the United States and Canada for a regular season game, and I just think it's exciting. Well, the Mets pick up their 3rd base hit as Espinosa comes to the batter's box, and he goes after the first pitch for strike 1.
We've been talking, speculating to some degree, why Monterrey rather than someplace else in Mexico, because Mexico City is probably the one you'd think of first. Well, the Monterrey actually has the Mexican League champions, the Monterrey Sultanes, and we have worked with Pepe Mais, the owner of Monterrey, and that made it a lot easier for us to, in a sense, put on this first series. Mets don't score. We'll be back with Leonard Coleman right after these messages, and this message brought to you from your Tri-State Toyota dealer. Rays as we go to the bottom of the 5th inning. We've been talking with Leonard Coleman, the president of the National League, on this historic day for the National League. Baseball in Mexico. And coming in now for the play-by-play, Gary Thorne. And day in, day out, at home or on the road, you can always count on the great taste of Bud Light. It won't fill you up and never let you down, so make it a Bud Light. And we are ready to go here in the bottom half of the 5th inning. It'll be Joyner, Finley, and Caminiti, 2, 3, 4 in the order for the San Diego Padres. Robert Person, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. Extra base hits have hurt him in this game, including the home run by Finley, good for 2, and the RBI double by Finley, good for another. Joyner's been on twice, fielder's choice and a walk, and has scored both times in this game. Person misses down low with that one, 2 balls and no strikes on him. Robert Person looking for his 3rd win, 2 and 3, and this just start number 8 for him for the Mets this year. Joyner fouls that one back, and the count goes to 2 balls and 1 strike. Ironically, we were talking to Leonard about the fact that San Diego wanting to obviously come here themselves, but have had a huge increase in their fan attendance this season.
Well, they certainly have. They've had a tremendous year, and their attendance is up percentage-wise higher than any other team in the National League. So they're having a sensational year, and obviously battling for that Western Division title.
And you got to be happy about the way the races are doing in the National League. Got a couple.
Couldn't be better.
Yeah, great for baseball.
Yeah.
2-2, and he's inside 3-2.
That wild card race is going to be a wing dinger too. So.
That's really worked, hasn't it?
It really has, and it keeps a lot of teams in the race, and keeps people playing hard in September, and we relish it.
And he's on again. This time via the hit, so a leadoff single for Wally Joyner here in the 5th inning, and the Padres will get it started with this middle of the order that's been so productive in this game and this season. None more so than the man coming up right now. Steve Finley, their center fielder, his 20th home run, good for 2 in the first, and that doubled a league-leading 38th in the 3rd inning. So he's had 3 RBIs and scored twice in this ball game, as the Padres have picked up their 6th hit off right-hander Robert Person. And Finley with a runner at first base. Joyner, who'll be held over there by Baerga. Takes the fastball for a strike. So let me ask you the question. Interleague play. It's the other question. Designated hitter.
Oh, I'm not for designated hitter. I was raised a National League fan.
They got a strong vote on that, Ralph.
No, they have to roll me over with a tractor before we get the designated hitter in the National League.
0-1 pitch grounded to second. Edgardo Alfonso. Ray Ordonez over the bag, not in time at second. They have called the runner safe at second base. Ordonez tried to make that quick move over the bag and did not have the ball.
Well, that famous neighborhood play at second base, I think that Ordonez went out of the neighborhood. Usually the umpire will be very lenient in a shortstop or second base covering. To right here, Ordonez trying to get the double play, takes that throw, and he's gone. I don't think even Gil Hodges got that far off when he pulled that neighborhood play for the Brooklyn Dodgers over the years at first base.
Even the Matador would have been too far away from the bull on that one. So safe at both first and second, Finley and Joyner. No, the Mets did not get anybody, and Greg Pavlik is coming out. The other question, Len, of course, the deal. Close?
I hope so. I think there's still a number of issues that have got to be resolved, and hopefully we can get it done here within the next week or so.
It's important for Major League Baseball.
It certainly is. I think the fans want to see a long-term deal, and I think it's our utmost goal in order to be able to get a long-term deal.
Well, having this strike prolonged, or having the not having a settlement for so long a time, has hurt baseball in more ways than one. And minor league baseball takes the brunt of this thing too, because they don't know where they're going to be standing until a deal is made.
Absolutely. I just think, as we look at a new millennium and think about taking baseball international, and it's just critically important that we're able to get long-term labor peace.
And they're talking, what, 6 years?
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Ken Caminiti, the batter. An error called on Ray Ordonez on that last play, allowing Finley to reach, and also allowing Joyner beyond. A fielder's choice actually will be called on Finley's reaching first base, and Joyner safe at second on the error on Ray Ordonez. First error we've had in the ball game. Ken Caminiti's 0 for 2. He has struck out and grounded out. 2 on here. Padres trying to add to their 5-0 lead. Robert Person trying to take this a little longer. Mets will get their bullpen going. Dave Malicki had been up earlier in the game, and Person fought through that one, but he's down 5-0 here, and they've collected the 6 hits off him. 2 on, nobody out. And it'll be fouled off by Caminiti down the line. 2-2.
One thing about the fans in the stands here, Leonard Goldman, is the fact that they know their baseball.
They know their baseball. They've got a champion here in the Sultanes, and they're just tremendously enthusiastic. And once again, we love it.
Oh my gosh! Deep right field. The question is how far? Goodbye home run. A 3-run homer for Ken Caminiti. And the San Diego Padres have an 8-0 lead.
driving in 3 more big runs, 8-0 in favor of the Padres. It is his 24th home run of the year, and the second home run given up by Person in this game.
Wow. Here's Greg Vaughn, who takes the fastball up high. The Padres are liking the first Major League Baseball game to be played in Mexico. 8 runs on 7 hits off Robert Person. And Vaughn puts that one deep to left field, curving towards that foul pole. It'll be long enough, but it'll be foul. The home run year, Leonard Coleman. You liking the offense?
I think the offense is good for the fans. I mean, obviously with so many guys having such great years, I think it provides a lot of excitement, and you know, the game is for the fans, and fan reaction to it has been very good. So once again, we're pleased with that. Yeah.
I think you're right about that. I hear nothing but positive comments, even though I would rather see the 1-0 ball game. I guess I just enjoy that defensive kind of game, but fans are loving the long ball.
Well, you got a pretty good home run hitter right here in this booth.
Yeah, well, he put a few out, didn't he?
He sure did.
Yes, he did.
Strangely enough, I like the home run.
Gee, I can't believe that. A 2-ball, 2-strike count on Vaughn. Did you ever hit a home run here?
It's been so long ago, 1948, yeah. I don't remember. I'll say yes.
Okay, good answer.
Nobody can refute it.
4 strikeouts for Person as Vaughn is retired. That is the first out, though, picked up here in the 5th inning. Person now has gone over that 90 pitch mark. 96 in the ball game. Could very well be his last inning, although he is not due up. Gilkey will be leading off for the Mets in 3rd in the order. 1 down, 3 runs in here in the 5th inning, and Flaherty, who delivered a double in the 3rd and picked up 2 more RBIs, has a 5-game hit streak going. He's batting at .329. He is now 100 points over his career numbers.
He is having a career year. That's easy to say and certainly well documented. Mets have had their bullpen going. Dave Malecki has been throwing out in the bullpen, and it has been a very warm evening here. Although the heat is dry, it's not as humid as it would be in some other areas. But Person has really struggled in this ball game.
Gotten behind on a lot of hitters. He's behind here, driven to left field. Bernard Gilkey back, warning track wall. Goodbye, home run. John Flaherty. A 9-0 lead for the San Diego Padres. What a season he is having. 13 home runs this year. 9 of those have been hit for the San Diego Padres. Dallas Green is on his way out. Leonard Coleman, thank you very much for coming by. This is a great treat. I'm just glad we're here.
My pleasure, and we look forward to a couple more games here.
Congratulations,
President.
Thank you.
And that blow by Flaherty was enough to get Robert Person out of the game. And Dallas Green out to bring the bullpen in. But boy, the Padres have really wonked it here in Monterrey. This call to the bullpen brought to you by 9X. We'll be right back. Well, the Mets will make the pitching change, and Derek Wallace will be coming on in relief as Robert Person just got hammered.
And Derek Wallace made his major league debut with a scoreless inning against the Chicago Cubs on August 13th. He allowed 1 hit and 1 walk in that ball game. Recalled from Norfolk of the International League on that same date, and was tied for the International League lead in saves with a total of 26 saves at Norfolk at the time.
Wow, are they on? Craig Shipley greets the first pitch from Derek Wallace and lines it into left field. A single. He's now 2 for 3. Shipley with a double and a single in 3 at-bats. 9 runs on 9 hits for the San Diego Padres, taking this 9-0 lead. Robert Person could not keep the ball in the yard here by the Padres with the extra base hits. And this is a red-hot San Diego team right now. They've got their people back. They're in the pennant race, and they're hungry, and they're playing that way. Here is Gomez. Only 1 down here, and the slider misses outside.
It's amazing how contagious winning is. The Padres got off to a fantastic start and then lost 17 out of 19 ball games to drop out of first place, but then came right back, and they're in a virtual tie for first now with the Dodgers.
That one hit the center field in the yard by Gomez. Lance Johnson will put it away. And there are 2 down here in the 5th. 4 runs in here in this inning. The 3-run homer by Ken Caminiti. Then the solo home run by John Flaherty, knocking Robert Person out, who worked 4 1/3 innings and was charged with the 9 runs, 8 earned on 8 hits. He walked 2 and he struck out 4. 7 home runs he had surrendered coming into this game, but the long ball did him in this one. 3 home runs off him here in Monterrey. 1-0 count here. Fernando Valenzuela has struck out and flied to center field. Runner on at first base. Edgardo Alfonso will make the play, and that will do it. But the Padres have taken a 9-0 lead. This from Bud Light. Barry Thorne along with Ralph Kiner and our crew as the San Diego Padres have taken a 9-0 lead in this game. Great to have you with us, though, for this historic moment of Major League Baseball. The first game played outside of the U.S. and Canada is a regularly scheduled game, and the San Diego Padres, the home team, are taking full advantage of all of it. Fernando Valenzuela has shut the Mets down on just 3 hits in this game. The Mets have been able to get 3 other base runners via walks. They have stranded 5 in the game, but Valenzuela's got the shutout going. Bernard Gilkey takes the strike. For Gilkey in the game, looking to get on for the second time. He drew a walk in the first inning, not 0 for 1. And Valenzuela's pitch is on the outside corner. He comes back on him and takes it full, 3-2. Padres with 3 home runs in this game, and they have been shots. Gilkey fouls that one back to hold the count full. Padres leading the series 5-2 this season. 2 more to come right here in WWOR in this series. We've got all 3 for you from Monterrey. We'll be back with you for Mark Clark and Tim Worrell in their matchup at 8 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow night. And Gilkey is gone. Valenzuela gets his 3rd strikeout. Bernard Gilkey the first out here in the 6th inning. Let's take a look at our new Dodge quiz. At which stadium did Bo Belinsky pitch the first no-hitter? At which stadium?
I'm going to make a wild guess at that one, but I'm not going to do it right now.
You're not going to tell me?
No, I'm not going to tell you.
Okay.
But I'm guessing, so you don't want to know anyway.
Oh, okay. I won't bet on it. Is that what you're saying? Foul back by Todd Hundley.
I have a great story about Bo Belinsky. I actually was there when it happened. I had a friend of mine. We were out at a nightclub in Palm Springs, California. It was after midnight, and Bo Belinsky was in the same place. And he was having a good time dancing, always good-looking girls. Might have had a drink or 2.
Maybe.
My friend of mine didn't like that, and he went up to Bo Belinsky, and he said, "What would you do? You're hanging out all night long. You're not going to bed at curfew. What would you do if you were pitching in the 9th inning, bases loaded, and you had to have someone to get out at that point? Where would you find the energy to do this?" And Belinsky looked at him disdainfully and he said, "Who says you have to go 9 innings?"
And thus began.
And that is the history of Bo Belinsky. But he did pitch a no-hit, no-run game.
Lined into left field, and Todd Hundley's got a base hit. So Todd is on his first hit, 1 for 3, a single with 1 down here in the 6th inning. So that would make it Anaheim Stadium?
No.
No?
No. I'm going to say.
Well, you were there.
No, I wasn't there, and that
you
was
weren't?
in a nightclub.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't at the ballpark.
You weren't at the ballpark.
I wasn't playing ball at the
Well,
time.
I know you weren't playing, but I thought you were at the ballpark.
And
I thought you were going to ask me why I was out so late.
No, I know why you were out late.
You knew that answer, right?
That's not part of. That's another new Dodge quiz question. Here's Carlos Baerga. 1 down, 1 on. Where is it?
Well, where this happened was at the Racket Club in Palm Springs. It was a famous hangout for movie stars, and the Racket Club was run by Charlie Farrell, who was a great actor and a silent screen actor, as a matter of fact. I'm going to say Wrigley Field in Los Angeles.
Wrigley Field in Los Angeles.
Yes.
Okay. The other Wrigley.
And that was a small ballpark. If he pitched that no-hitter there, it was a pretty good job because it was really a small park.
Well, as far as we're concerned, you're right. We don't have net return, so we can't see the answer when it comes up, so we'll just assume that's what it was.
We'll put the answer up in Spanish. That way only a few people will know.
Baerga fouls that one off. 2 ball, 1 strike count, 1 away. Hundley on at first base, and the Mets trying to get something off Fernando Valenzuela, who's trying to remain undefeated in his last 6 starts. 9-7 mark on the year. A guy who didn't know if he was going to have a job when this season started. And here he is on a pennant contending team and an important part of it. Baerga takes the pitch outside. 3-1 on Carlos. Valenzuela's just done what Valenzuela does best. He's mixed it up, thrown the whole repertoire.
He's a complete pitcher. He knows what he's doing on that mound and spots the ball all around that plate.
Baerga fouls it off, and the count goes full, 3-2.
His 167 wins in Major League Baseball, the most by any Mexican pitcher in the history of baseball.
What a story he is writing here, Ralph, if in fact he can continue on and win this game. I mean, if he had a shutout, that would only add to it, but to come back here in the first game played here in Mexico, to be done by a native countryman, Fernando Valenzuela. Fouled off again. Count still 3-2 on Baerga.
If you made a movie out of this, you wouldn't believe it.
No, which is the way it usually happens in baseball. You couldn't write the script any better.
No telling how many fans he put in Dodger Stadium over the premier years of his career.
And as Leonard Coleman was saying, with the market, of course, for the Padres being to the south and Mexico there, I mean, he adds to the crowd there along with the great Mexican population that's there in San Diego. Chance for 2. Gomez, Shipley, and Joyner, and they get it. Carlos Baerga hits into the double play. No runs, a base hit. Nobody left on. Fernando's magic is working here tonight. Back after this from your Tri-State Toyota dealer. We'll have the top of the order coming up. Our new Dodge quiz. We'll get an answer to here in this half inning. Tony Gwynn, a single in the 3rd inning and scored. Eric Wallace working in relief of Robert Person. Padres getting 2 in the 1st, 3 in the 3rd, and 4 more in the 5th. They have had 1 1-2-3 inning, and that was in the 4th inning. Otherwise, they've had somebody on base. And of their position players, all but 2 have been able to get at least 1 base hit. Greg Vaughn and Chris Gomez. Only 2 in the lineup without a hit besides the pitcher. Way outside, Wallace tripping off the mound that time. 2 balls and 1 strike on Tony Gwynn. All important appearances for Derek Wallace. Chance to show the New York Mets why he had such a spectacular season at AAA and why they should have him here not only for this year but for the future. He's got a 2-2 count on Gwynn. Padres trying to get out of a 3-game losing streak, losing that 3-game series to the Cincinnati Reds and ending up on that road trip 5-5. This is officially, as we said, not a road trip game for them. Fouled off the plate by Gwynn, and they have built up the 9-0 lead. For the years, always the most difficult man to strike out generally in the league. A great contact hitter. Off Baerga's glove. He's got another base hit. So Gwynn has a 2-for-3 ball game going, as well as having reached on a walk. Here's a leadoff single here in the 6th inning. And our new Dodge quiz, and at which stadium did Bo Belinsky pitch the first no-hitter? And the answer is
he pitched it in Dodger Stadium. In May of 1962, Bo Belinsky threw the first no-hitter at Dodger Stadium. The Angels played their home games there before going to Anaheim. They played in 62 through 44. In 1961, they played in Wrigley Field.
Son of a gun.
Wrigley Field in L.A.
So right city, right idea, wrong stadium.
Wrong neighborhood.
Yeah, that's all. Runner on, Gwynn at first base. And Wally Joyner, who's been on all 3 times up and scored. Single, base on ball, and the fielder's choice. Big part of the offense here, and a 2-0 count on him here in the 6th inning. Fernando Valenzuela pitched his no-hitter at Dodger Stadium. Swung on and missed by Joyner. Fooled on the breaking ball down and away to him. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Of course, the Dodgers played in the Coliseum in their early years, 58, 59, 60, and 61. And moved into Dodger Stadium, and their Titans were the California Angels.
2-1 pitches outside, 3-1 on Joyner. Full house on hand here in Monterrey for this historic game in Major League Baseball. As Leonard Coleman says, they had a huge walk-up sale as the Mexican officials had anticipated for this game. Foul back off the fist, 3 balls and 2 strikes on Joyner. And the same will happen undoubtedly for the other 2 games of this series. Derek Wallace, 3-2 count. They're not holding. Gwynn at first. Baerga way back behind him. And he walks it. So Wallace getting himself in trouble here in the 6th inning as the Padres threaten again. They have their first 2 base runners on. They've had 4 of the 6 innings. They've gotten that leadoff man on base. And that will bring Greg Pavlik back out to the mound, the Mets pitching coach.
3rd walk in the game for the Padres. And the first 2 that walked scored. So the walks have hurt the Mets, along with the extra base hits, 3 home runs.
Finley has picked up a 2-run shot in this game. Flaherty has had a solo home run, and Ken Caminiti with a 3-run homer came in the 5th inning. People they've acquired have done exactly what they wanted them to do this season. We talked earlier about Greg Vaughn. He's picked up 3 home runs in 15 games that he's played with this team. Flaherty far and away anything more offensively than they could have hoped for, hitting 100 points, higher than his average, and upping it here in this game. And Finley, of course, continuing to have a career season. Breaking ball misses in the dirt as Finley stands in. Paul Byrd and Jerry DiPoto have started to loosen up in the Mets bullpen. Wins the lead runner at second base. Wally Joyner on at first. Nobody out. Finley letting that one go by, and it misses outside. And as has happened all night to both Robert Person and now Derek Wallace, cannot get ahead of these Padre hitters.
Name of the game in the major leagues: you get behind good hitters, and they're gonna take you downtown.
Fouls that one back, looking for the fastball, and got it. Couldn't connect on it. 2-1. San Diego Padres this season as a team have relied more on the pitching than they have on the offense. But a lot of that's due to the fact that so many of their people have been injured and out, and they've now gotten them back, so now they're strong in both categories. 2 balls, 2 strikes as he went around.
Their team batting average .260. That's 8th in the National League, and they've hit only 103 home runs.
Their ERA 3rd best in the league, behind Atlanta and Los Angeles at 3.80.
Joey Hamilton, their ace pitcher, has lost 3 1-0 games this year.
They're not going to lose those with these people back in the lineup, and Greg Vaughn added to it. It makes them a very dangerous team. Derek Wallace has got a 3-2 count here on Finley. Finley on all 3 times he's been up with a home run, a double, and an error. And Wallace gets it. Now Wallace gets his first strikeout. 1 away here in the 6th inning. Caminiti and then Greg Vaughn due up.
Finley not an easy man to strike out, but he chases that ball out of the strike zone, and when you do that, the percentage goes way up on the strikeout.
1 down, still 2 on. And that one is taken outside. Ken Caminiti. He put a blast on, almost driving it out of this ballpark, literally. About the last half dozen rows in right field. His last at bat for his 3-run homer. And it was one of those mile-high shots to go along with it. Wallace stays away from him, misses outside again. 2 balls and no strikes.
I was talking to someone who has watched the Mexican League players play, and it would be the equivalent of maybe AA baseball down here in Mexico. And they say they use a ball that is very, very soft. And home runs are not as prevalent as they are in Major League Baseball.
The fans have had a treat tonight then, seeing this game in person with the home runs that have been hit.
This is hard ball here.
Yeah. Wallace is behind, 3 balls, no strikes. Gwynn off second base, Joyner off first, 1 down. Got a green light. It was up high in any event. Second walk given up by Wallace, and that loads the bases. So Caminiti takes the walk, and Wallace in trouble here in the 6th. With Greg Vaughn coming to the plate. And Vaughn, as we mentioned, one of the 2 position players without a hit in this game. He has flied out and struck out twice.
When you add Vaughn's runs batted in this season up, he has become the first man to ever drive in 100 runs while playing in 2 different leagues.
109 RBIs. And won't win either RBI award. Greg Vaughn. Add to this. Deep left field, way back, grand slam home run for Greg Vaughn. A 13-0 lead for the San Diego Padres. For Greg Vaughn, that will be his 35th home run overall. Let me correct myself on the RBIs. His total now is 106. But out of those, 11 have come since he joined the San Diego Padres. This is his 15th game that he's played for them. Wow. So Derek Wallace can't avoid the problems.
4th home run for the Padres in this ball game, and there was no doubt about that one.
13 runs on 11 hits in this game. As Ralph talked about how the walks have hurt, well, the 2 in this inning have also now scored. Four runs in here in the 6th inning. And Flaherty takes the strike, 1-1.
That was the first Major League home run that Wallace has given up, and he won't forget that one.
Vaughn knew it, and so did everybody else. 2 ball, 1 strike count. Flaherty, 5-game hit streak, 2 RBIs and a double in the 3rd inning, and his 13th home run in the 5th. Jerry DiPoto in the bullpen for the Mets. That one looped off the fist towards center. Lance Johnson over. Will have to play it on the hop. What an offensive show being put on here in this game by the San Diego Padres. 13 runs now on 12 hits. Our Nobody Beats the Wiz game summary. Fernando Valenzuela has done the job on the mound as he is shutting out the New York Mets on the 4 hits. Steve Finley with the home run, 3 RBIs total in this game. He scored 3 times. Ken Caminiti has come with a big home run, and Vaughn now with the grand slam, and that'll do it for Derek Wallace. And we'll be back after this from Chevrolet.
It's Jerry DiPoto, the new pitcher in the ballgame for the New York Mets. He picked up his career-high 5th victory with 2 innings of work.
over the Pittsburgh Pirates, and then he picked up his 6th victory, an 11-7 win over Chicago on August the 7th. He's won 4 games with the Indians in 1993 and the Mets in 95. So he will be the 3rd pitcher used by the New York Mets, as the Padres have just pounded on Mets pitching in this ball game in Monterrey.
Well, the last game Valenzuela pitched against the Mets back in May 24, the Padres won that game 13-1. Here in this game, it is 13-0 with Valenzuela on the mound, and the Padre offense exploding for him here in Monterrey, Mexico. Runner on at first base is Flaherty, the responsibility of Wallace, who worked an inning. So far, 4 runs, 4 hits, 2 walks, and a strikeout. Craig Shipley, he's had a 2-for-3 night. A single, a double, is also flied out to right field. And Jerry Dipoto goes to work. First ball hit to center field. Lance Johnson. He'll put that one away, and Shipley is retired. You will notice in some of the shots in the outfield how there are some dark spaces, and the outfielders have quivered, if you will, on balls coming off the bat. That's where the lighting problem is not quite up to major league standards. The infield at the plate looked pretty good, but getting the outfield down is tough to do when it's not that way all the time. 2 down. Chris Gomez, who's had an 0-for-3, takes it down low from Dipoto, ball 1. In the bottom half of the 6th inning, 4 runs scored in each of the last 2 innings now by the Padres, and a 2-0 count on Gomez.
8th man to bat in this inning. The Padres sent 8 to the plate in the 5th inning, and also sent 7 to the plate in the 3rd.
2-0 the count. Gomez takes the strike on the outside corner. 25-year-old at Lakewood, California. He is from Los Angeles originally, still lives in the area. Played with the Detroit Tigers 3 full major league seasons and a part of another. Hitting .239 for the Tigers. Fouls that one back into the screen. And 2-ball, 2-strike count on him. They felt they needed some help at shortstop. Gomez, part of that deal, is out there at short starting. Has a 2-2 count. Home plate umpire turning around here for about the 4th time. Some light or something comes on behind home plate. They've had to get turned off, maybe a camera or something down there. And they've done it again. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 away. And Dipoto thought he had the inside corner, did not get it, and the count goes to 3-2 on Chris Gomez. Pitcher Fernando Valenzuela is waiting on deck if he gets a chance here. That's on not holding here on Flaherty, the base runner, with a single at first. Flaherty takes off here on the 3-2. It's fouled back into the upper deck, and it remains a 3-2 count. San Diego Padres may not want to leave Monterrey. Maybe they'll play the rest of their homestand here if things go like this in the next 2 games.
If their visas are long enough, they might just stay here for the rest of the season.
And hitting the ball the way they are tonight. Runner goes again on the 3-2, and again it's fouled off. They have had 5 home runs in a ball game this season. They did it against San Francisco at Candlestick on June 27th. They have 4 home runs in this game. They have scored as many as 20 runs in a game. They did that against Florida, setting a club record back on July 27th. And that one's going into the corner, chased by Ochoa. Flaherty making the turn at 3rd. Gomez going into 2nd base. And the ball gets away. Going over to 3rd base will be Gomez. Makes the turn. He's going to come home. The throw to the plate. Hundley can't handle it. A double and 2 errors will be charged to the Mets as Gomez circles the bases. A 15-0 lead for the San Diego Padres. And I don't know what Alvaro Espinoza was thinking of at 3rd. He didn't chase that ball down.
No, he didn't. And right here,
Ochoa makes a bad play throwing to second base. If he had thrown to the cutoff man, he had a shot at home on the runner coming in to score. And then as the throw is way offline and over the cutoff man, it is chased down by Espinosa, who didn't look like he was going full speed to make the play.
He thought Gomez was going to stop at third base, and Gomez, seeing that Espinosa had fallen down, just turned it and kept on coming. It is a 15-0 game. Valenzuela, the 9th man up in the inning, went after that one. One of those runs will be charged to Wallace, so he gave up a total of 5 here in this inning. The other will be charged to Dipoto. Not sure what the official scorer will do with that, but we'll find out. Gene Orza will be joining us. We'll get the Players Association look at what's going on around this game after this from Pizza Hut. The Padres are rolling 15-0 in this ball game. 6 runs, 3 hits, and only 1 error charged in that 6th inning. Nobody left on base as they batted around. Scott Livingstone will come on to play at first base now as Wally Joyner comes out. Fernando Valenzuela goes to the 7th inning, and so does Ralph Kiner.
Okay, Gary, and Alex Ochoa will lead it off for the Mets as they trail by 15 in the first pitch by Fernando Valenzuela, taken for ball 1.
Associate General Counsel of the Players Association, Major League Baseball, Gene Orza is joining us here as he's been able to get away from the bargaining table and come on down. Your impressions of the whole event?
Well, right now, I think the Mets are jinxed by Fernando Mania. Maybe they're cooperating. I don't think so. But this was Fernando's night, obviously. And although I'm a New York fan, I would rather see them beat the Padres. I guess if they're going to lose a game, it'd be to Fernando Valenzuela making a successful return to Monterrey, Mexico.
Also a new catcher in the ball game for the Padres, Brian Johnson, as the first base hit for the Mets here in the 7th inning comes off the bat of Alex Ochoa. He is now 1 for 2 with a walk. Mets picking up their 5th base hit in this ball game as Fernando Valenzuela sits on a 15-0 lead. That'll bring up Edgardo Alfonso.
Gene, what's the Players Association feeling regarding games like this played away and the expansion question of coming to a city like this?
Oh, we were big supporters of this game. It of course had to be negotiated with us, but that was a fairly quick and prompt negotiation. We see events like this, small though they may be, as another further step towards the internationalizing of the sport, and that's something we think is in the best interest of both owners and players.
That's exactly.
So we were real big proponents of this game.
That's exactly what the National League president said, Len Coleman. He says this has got to be the future of baseball.
Len and I were 2 of the 3 participants in the negotiation, and it went very, very smoothly. There was never any doubt that from the league standpoint, from the Padres standpoint, and from the Players Association standpoint, this was something that should be done. They're great fans here, too.
And the pitch back to Alfonso, taken for a count of 3 balls and no strikes. Mets with a runner on first base, trailing 15-0, no one out. Top of the 7th inning. And that pitch, ball 4, so the Mets have base runners at first and second base as Fernando Valenzuela walks the batter here in this inning. That's his 3rd walk in the game. Valenzuela has thrown 98 pitches. And the bullpen now going for the San Diego Padres.
That is Dustin Hermanson warming up in the bullpen. Fernando does not have a complete game this season, so obviously some concern here. They would love to see him do it here just for the story, I'm sure, but more importantly, they don't want to do anything to hurt his arm with a pennant race underway.
He's a key in their rotation, but I think there's also something to be said for letting him walk off the mound while the game is still in progress and getting the ovation that I think he's going to get. If he were to complete the game, it might not be the same.
Well, they are very proud of Fernando Valenzuela here in Mexico, as they well should be. He has been the dominant hero down here baseball-wise over the years, and of course that all started with the Dodgers and his great rookie year that he had with the Dodgers. He started out 8-0, and there's a drive to left field. It probably won't score a run. No, they're going to send him in. The throw to the plate is not in time, and the Mets get on the scoreboard as
Ordonez singles to left field, and Ochoa comes in to score. So it's now 15-1. The Mets with runners at first and second with no one out. And we'll have a pinch hitter coming up for the Mets.
Yeah.
Ray Ordonez will get out of that 0 for 10 that he was in with that RBI single.
And now, as the crowd starts to roar its approval, Fernando Valenzuela will be taken out of the ball game, and he gets a standing ovation here in Monterrey, Mexico. And they're very proud. Fernando Valenzuela, an outstanding athlete, an outstanding player for Mexico, wins the first game ever in Mexico in a National League Baseball game in a regular season. So as he acknowledges the applause, here's a word from Pizza Hut.
Dustin Hermanson, the 23-year-old right-hander, will be coming on in relief. He made his major league appearance last season with the San Diego Padres in 26 games that he worked out of the bullpen. You see the numbers that he has put up this season. Hermanson giving up 4 runs, 3 earned on 4 hits on Tuesday in his last outing at Cincinnati over a couple of innings that he worked there.
And Dustin will be working to a pinch hitter for the New York Mets.
Chris Jones will get a shot at it.
Chris Jones stepping in to bat for the Mets with runners at first and second. The Mets trailing by 14 here in the 7th inning, and the first pitch by Hermanson is taken for ball 1.
Gene Orza from the Players Association. Let's get to the inevitable here. Where are the negotiations?
I think it's inevitable. That's a good word. We're close. I don't know what the status as of the last few hours have been, having been here in Mexico, but as of this morning, I think parties are still hopeful we could put something together in the next few days. We are so close that I think all that separates us now is a matter of will. I know that will exist on the players' side, and I'm pretty sure it exists on the owner's side too, to finally conclude this matter and put it behind us. I was kind of hopeful we could do it on August the 12th. It had a certain resonance to it. But a week later won't bother me that much.
Soon?
I think it's soon. Hopeful. It's soon. I think the votes are there, but I know there's still some talking that has to take place on the owner's side before that gets done.
Chris Jones, the batter, with 6 pinch hits this year in 14 at-bats. And he takes that pitch in the count. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Is time served still the issue?
For some people it is. It isn't for me. I mean, these negotiations have been conducted under an assumption, and a good one, that service time will be part of the equation. The fact that we would get service time played a large role in the impetus you saw towards an agreement last week. So there may have been some people who were not plugged into the issue of service time as well as the negotiators were, but I'm confident that we can put this to bed. One of the main reason why you don't want service time to be a continuing debate for long, and indeed not to be granted at the end of an agreement, is that people have the mistaken assumption that having reached an agreement, peace automatically is at hand. But you have to live with each other under the terms of that agreement, and if the last note of the agreement that you reached is one of punishing people, it's not a good harbinger for the future. And indeed, to deny players service time is to be simply an act of punishment, I think. There's no logical reason why you should deny them that.
And with the bases loaded, the Mets have Lance Johnson at the plate. Lance with a base hit his last time up. 1 for 3 in the game. Mets trailing by a score of 15-1, but they have the bases loaded as they bat with no one out here in the 7th inning. Well, Gene, the precedent has been always that service time has been restored to the players when they've had difficulties in the strike situation before.
Absolutely, and I think it's for the reasons I've stated, Ralph, that everybody's always recognized that to deprive players of service time, the restoration of service time, as you're about to enter into a period where you're living under your agreement, can really set a bad tenor, so to speak, for the years you have to live under that agreement. The only reason to deny players service time is you want to punish them. And if you want to punish people and expect them to live peacefully with you because you've reached an agreement, it's a hard sell.
This ball hit down the right field line, but foul all the way.
And so they count 1 ball and 2 strikes on Lance Johnson. The Mets batting with the bases loaded. Gene, thank you for taking the time out to come all the way from New York down here to Monterrey just to be on our program.
That's why I did it, Ralph.
That's right.
Always a pleasure to see you.
Gene,
you too,
thanks.
Gary. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Gene Orza, and one of the very strong representatives of the players, along with Mr. Fear. Gene has been in that organization for quite some time. The 1-2 pitch to Johnson taken for a ball, and that's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Bases are loaded. Mets trying to get something back in this ball game as they were trailing by a score of 15-0. They're batting in the 7th inning. They have the bases loaded. They have 1 run in. And on the mound, Dustin Hermanson for the San Diego Padres. The 2-2 pitch to Johnson. Hit foul into the stands on the third base side, so the count remains at 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Well, it was appropriate, I guess, that Fernando would come out of the ball game and have a chance to get the standing ovation, rather than having to wait.
It's a storybook. There's no question about it. Here's a man that has done so much for Mexican baseball by his tremendous performances in the major leagues. The most wins by any Mexican pitcher born in Mexico that ever pitched in the major leagues. This ball hit hard to right field. It should score 1 run. Out there to make the catch is Tony Gwynn. Tagging up at third base for the Mets is Edgardo Alfonso. He comes in to score, and also moving over to third base on the out is Ray Ordonez. So the Mets have their 2nd run in the inning. So 2 runs in for the Mets in this inning, and the batter coming up will be Espinosa. Run batted in for Lance Johnson, his 52nd of the year. He came into the game leading the National League in base hits, and he has 1 hit in this game in 4 at-bats. And the first pitch to Espinosa swung on and missed. Espinosa 2 for 3 in the game, a single in the first, a double in the third, and he grounded into a force play in the 5th inning. Alvaro Esposa, the batter for the New York Mets. Runner goes at first base, but the ball hit in the air to center field. Going back for it is Steve Finley, one of the fine outfielders in the National League. He makes the play, and on the out, Ordonez comes in to score. So the Mets with 3 runs in the inning, 2 men away, and the batter will be Bernard Gilkey.
So that'll be the line for Fernando Valenzuela, his last responsibility scoring here, as Alvaro Espinosa trying to get that ball up in the air did to center. No chance for a play at the plate on it, so the 3 runs will be charged to Fernando Valenzuela and the 6 hits over 6+ innings.
Bernard Gilkey hitless in the game, 0 for 2. He did walk back in the 1st inning. And Gilkey takes his first pitch for a called strike. Gilkey came into the game hitting .312. That placed him in a tie for 8th place in the National League batting race. And Gilkey fouls a fastball off the trademark, fouls it straight back into the stands at strike 2. Sellout crowd here in Monterrey, Mexico, in the first game ever played south of the United States and Canada. International League, international baseball, with the Padres on top 15-3. And that pitch taken low, and the count 1 ball and 2 strikes. Dustin Hermanson, and a fake break at first base by the base runner there, Chris Jones. He's not being held on, but the move was picked up by Hermanson, and he faked the throw over to first base. And this one grounded to third base. Arky Cianfranco, who is now playing third base, comes up with it. He throws it over to first base for the out that retires the side. So 3 runs in for the Mets, and the score at the end of 6.5 innings.
Saturday, August 31st is Coca-Cola Negro Leagues Cap Day. For tickets, call 718-507-TIXX.
Bottom of the 7th inning with the Padres on top by a score of 15-3, and Tony Gwynn to lead it off. So Chris Jones has taken over for the Mets to play first base. Carlos Baerga is out of the ball game. Jones will be batting in the 9th position, and the batter will be Tony Gwynn. Chris Jones over at the first base position as Gwynn takes the first pitch for strike 1. Gwynn in this ball game 2 for 3 with a walk. And he fouls off the next delivery. That's strike 2. Tony with a .340 batting average coming in, but he will be hard pressed to have enough plate appearances to qualify for the batting title.
I think we've got
Actually,
Chris up
Chris,
there.
yeah, Chris Jones playing at first base, and Chris Gwynn batting for his brother Tony Gwynn. They certainly look alike, but they don't hit alike. And that pitch taken for a ball, 1 ball and 2 strikes. And the next pitch to Chris Gwynn, and it's outside, 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Well, the only thing that the Mets could say about this game is that everything that's happened is going to be overshadowed by the story of the fact it's in Monterrey and Fernando Valenzuela's return. But from a Mets perspective, this is one of the worst games they have had this year.
It has been a disaster. There's no doubt about it. And Chris Gwynn tries to emulate his brother, but pulls it foul. So the count stays at 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Robert Person, who had had all those really good starts, a total of 7 of them before this, had pitched well in almost all of them. He had a game against Houston where he only got a couple of innings and got tagged for 5 runs and 7 hits in the middle of those starts. But his performance over the last few games had been outstanding. I mean, he earned the right to be in that rotation and pitch. And then tonight did all the things he didn't want to do, getting behind hitters and having to come in with fastballs that he couldn't get by anybody.
His last outing against Florida was outstanding. He had a no decision in a game won in extra innings by Florida. But in that ball game, he went 7 innings and gave up no earned runs and only 2 hits. And that ball hit to Ordonez, and Chris Gwynn is out at first base. So 1 away, and that'll bring up Wally Joyner.
Still runs the way he does too, like his brother Chris Gwynn on the pinch hit attempt out at first.
Wally Joyner, the batter. John Smoltz has become the first 20-game winner in the National League as Atlanta has picked up a victory behind him. And let's check out the National League scores. And the batter, not Wally Joyner, but the man who replaced Wally Joyner, Scott Livingston, and he fouls off that pitch. They count 1 ball and 1 strike.
Well, it's been a couple of seasons since a pitcher's been able to get to that 20-game mark. There's our Toyota American League scoreboard for you. John Smoltz getting there. Reynolds of Houston has got 15 wins. He's got a real shot at being able to get it if he can finish up strong and join Smoltz among the 20-game winners in the National League. Finally getting a complete season in. And Andy Pettitte, of course, of the New York Yankees, has got 17 wins. Mike Messina of Baltimore with 15, and an outside shot for Alvarez of Chicago has got 14.
1 ball, 1 strike to Livingston, and it's bounced up the middle. Tough play for Alfonso. He tries to shovel it off to Ordonez and makes a high throw. Ordonez, a possible chance if he had been able to receive that throw and get it off to get the runner at first.
Well, there was going to be no chance here for Edgardo Alfonso, and he tried to get it to Ordonez heading in the right direction to make the throw, but he tried to do it right out of the glove and nowhere near. And that'll go as an infield base hit.
Lou Boudreau and Ray Mack for the Cleveland Indians used to pull off that type of play occasionally. It's an exceptionally good play if you can do it, but it's extremely hard to do because of the extra time it takes to get the ball to the other infielder. And now the batter will be Ricky Henderson, batting for Steve Finley, and Henderson takes outside for ball 1.
It's an interesting situation that happened with San Diego. Here's a guy who's having a pretty darn good season, the all-time leading base stealer, Ricky Henderson, who's lost a job. As Gwynn's return, you had to put him back in the outfield. Finley's having a great season in center, and Greg Vaughn they acquired from Milwaukee for power, so they wanted to keep him in left field, so that left no place for Ricky Henderson to go. His initial response to the Vaughn deal was, "I want to be traded." He has since settled down to say, as all good ball players will, "I'll do what I can to help the team," but he obviously is not going to be happy not being in the lineup on a regular basis.
Hitting .243 for the San Diego Padres. 7 home runs, 25 runs batted in. He has 31 stolen bases for the Padres and the all-time base stealer in Major League history. 3 balls and 1 strike to Ricky Henderson. Henderson gets a lot of walks. He has walked 100 times so far this year. And he takes there for a strike, and it's now 3-2, and Henderson thought that was ball 4.
Only Bagwell and Bonds this season have walked more than Ricky Henderson, giving him a very good on-base percentage for this team.
And the 3-2 pitch, and it's inside, so that's walk 101 for Ricky Henderson as the Mets continue to have problems with their pitching. Jerry DePota on the mound for the New York Mets. That puts runners at first and second base and brings up Arky Cianfranco. This copyrighted telecast is authorized under television rights granted by Sterling Doubleday Enterprises LP solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of Sterling Doubleday Enterprises LP is prohibited. Any commercial or other use of the program, such as by charging a mission for its showing, is likewise prohibited. And Cianfranco takes the first pitch for a called strike. Arky batting for the first time in this game. Cianfranco with runners at first and second base, 1 man out. The Padres leading 15-3 and batting in the bottom half of the 7th inning.
Say one thing, Ralph, despite this score, there have been very few people, if any, who have left this ballpark.
They're going to get their money's worth. And I would say the majority of the people in this ballpark are pulling for the San Diego Padres, so they are getting what they want. Ground ball to the third base side. It's a foul ball. And that's strike 2. Monterrey, Mexico, located fairly close to the Houston Astros, and they follow the Houston Ball Club quite readily here in this area. But it's the San Diego Padres making their debut here with the New York Mets in the first game ever played south of the border.
Certainly Valenzuela guaranteed, if there were any who were wondering who they'd cheer for, that was taken care of with his start.
That was right there when it was announced he was the starting pitcher. 2 strikes to count. And that's ball 1. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Well, that song south of the border certainly fits this occasion, coming to Mexico to play. And the Padres have put on quite a demonstration of hitting here in this ball game, and fine pitching by Valenzuela. Cianfranco goes after the pitch, is struck out, 2 men away. So 2 men out, runners still at first and second base. And we have Greg Vaughn coming to the plate. A grand slam home run his last time to the plate after having struck out twice and having flied out to right field.
What an incredible year. 35 home runs, 106 RBIs. He's been with the Padres now for 15 games, has 4 home runs and 11 RBIs.
It was quite a pickup for the San Diego Padres to get someone with his stats, his reputation, and he has given the Padres that big power hitter that they need.
Someone the Brewers weren't going to be able to sign, they felt, even if they tried for another year. They wanted to get something.
And they got some good young ball players for Vaughn. And that pitch outside for a ball, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. His grand slam home run, a bullet into left field. There was no doubt about it. The wind is blowing in from left field, and it just cut right through the wind. And Depoto's next delivery inside. We count 2 balls and 1 strike.
It's a shame somebody with the numbers he's putting up will not get an award at the end of the year for leading the league.
That is really the
he may lead the majors
in runs batted in.
Yeah.
Doesn't count when they're split between 2 leagues. So he could lead the major leagues in runs batted in and not get an RBI title.
Yeah.
A few years back, Willie McGee was traded from the St. Louis Cardinals to the San Francisco Giants. He ended up leading the National League in hitting while playing for the San Francisco Giants. His combined batting average at San Francisco and at St. Louis was less than enough to be the top batting average in baseball that year. The 3-1 pitch, rounded hard in the hole, backhanded by, actually I didn't even see that, picked up by the third baseman Espinosa, and he makes a brilliant play to throw to first base to get the out. Great play by Espinosa to pick up the out to retire the side. So after 7 innings of play here in Monterrey, Mexico, the Padres 15, the New York Mets 3. And this message brought to you from your local Dodge dealer. And entertainment in the stands as the Padres lead by a score of 15-3. Some pretty good action going on there.
I think the guy in the tuxedo is sponsored. Is that a logo on his back?
I think so.
You can't escape marketing. That's not a mariachi band, though, really.
Not really.
That surprised me.
Maybe that's not the thing down here at this point of the time. As we go to the top of the 8th inning. And we'd like to again remind you that Televisa and Major League Baseball is bringing this game your way. The first of a 3-game series with the San Diego Padres in Monterrey, Mexico, and we'll be televising all 3 of the ball games tomorrow night. We'll be back in the air at 8 o'clock New York time as the Mets try to do something different against the San Diego Padres. 1 strike to count on Todd Huntley. Huntley 1 for 3 in the ball game. Ricky Henderson has gone into center field to play out there for Steve Finley, and Chris Gwynn is in right field replacing his brother Tony. Two strikes to count to Todd Huntley with a single and 3 at bats. And that pitch a ball, and it goes to 1-2. Dustin Hermanson on the mound for the San Diego Padres in relief of Fernando Valenzuela, who went the first 6, gave up no runs, and pitched an outstanding ball game, and he is on the winning side, and if he wins the ball game, he will be 10-7 for the year and 3-0 against the New York Mets, and that's it for
left field by Brian Johnson, the catcher for San Diego. First thing, Ralph, take a look here. Todd Huntley having so much trouble with that hand. Can't hang on to the bat on the swings, and said before the game it is really hurting him.
And for the New York Mets, a pinch hitter, Pettigini will be the pinch hitter. Roberto Pettigini, and he goes after the first pitch, pulls it by Frank Howard, the first base coach, strike 1. Pettigini batting for the pitcher, who is in the 5th batting spot in the Mets batting order.
1 strike to count to Pedagini, who came up from Norfolk. This is the second time he's been back into the major leagues, and he loses the bat on that foul ball. And it's strike 2. Understand we have just lost audio and video, and we apologize, and we are now back as this game is brought to you by satellite. A shared feed with the San Diego Padres, who are broadcasting this game back to the Southern California area. 2 strikes to count. And again, the ball fouled off, so the count stays at strike 2. Televisa and Major League Baseball combining to bring this broadcast to you.
I ended up going to the Mexico Television Museum today. Wholly an accident.
You got lost. And there's a swing and a miss for strike 3. So Pedagini, the second man, struck out in this inning.
I didn't actually get lost. They have no markings for it. It's downtown by the big, beautiful mall where all the museums and galleries are. And there's a very old building which used to house the governor and of the state here in the capital city. This is the capital city of the state here in Mexico. And they had no markings. We were just walking around in it, and the guy opened the door and said, "Come on in. It's the television museum." It was.
Well, that's what I call a stroke of good luck.
There wasn't one sign anywhere for it.
It sort of reminds me of when I was the general manager of the San Diego Padres in the Pacific Coast League, and a guy called up and said, "What time is the game?" We weren't drawing anybody. I said, "When can you make it?" He just opened the door and said, "Come on in."
Come on in.
1 ball, 1 strike, and a big swing and a miss for Alex Ochoa. Alex with a base hit and 2 at bats. He also has walked. Wild swing, and it's strike 3. So 3 strikeouts in the inning for Hermanson, and the Mets down in order. So after 7.5 innings, it's the Padres 15, the New York Mets 3, here on our Nissan. This is a word from Nissan. Will be the leadoff batter for the San Diego Padres. He's had a great night. A single, a double, and a home run.
Paul Bird will come on in relief now for the New York Mets. Brent Maine has come in to work behind the plate. Carl Everett's gone to center field.
And it will be Brian Johnson instead of Flaherty to hit here in this inning, and he fouls off a fastball for strike 1. Brian Johnson taking over the catching. And the next pitch fouled away.
There are the numbers for Paul Bird this season, who at this point really is trying to work his way back into the good graces of Dallas Green, because he's not been effective. And a lot of it's had to do with an ability, again, to get ahead of hitters, put the pitches where he wants it.
He's ahead with this batter, and Johnson takes that pitch for a ball. 1 ball and 2 strikes. And a wild swing and a miss, strike 3. So Johnson has struck out. First man out here in the bottom half of the 8th inning, with the Padres leading 15-3.
One thing that's happened in this game, Ralph, we were saying only exhibition baseball has been played here. This scorecard kind of looks like one of those games. Everybody's gotten a chance to be in this first game in Mexico, almost.
And they can all go back and tell their grandchildren they played the first game south of the border.
Shipley's had to go the distance, though.
Shipley 2 for 4 in this game, a single and a double. And Shipley with a count of 1 ball and 1 strike. Shipley with a line drive to right field. Ochoa coming in and making the play for the out. So Shipley
the second out in the inning. Shipley grew up in Australia. One of the Australian players that have made it to the major leagues.
Next year, that's where we're going to be.
Expansion to Australia.
Australia. Going to play a game series there.
They better start making those jets a little bit faster. Even the Concorde couldn't get there in time. And the first pitch is taken for ball one. Pitch back to Gomez, taken for a called strike, 1 ball and 1 strike. And this ball lined and caught by a great play by Chris Jones as he goes high in the air to take a base hit away. A 1-2-3 inning. The score at the end of 8. Padres 15, the Mets 3. And here's a word from Miller Brewing. Last chance for the Mets as they come up here in the top of the 9th inning. And for the Mets, it'll be the bottom of the batting order coming up. Edgardo Alfonso will lead it off. Edgardo 0 for 2 with a walk and a run scored. The Mets scoring just 3 runs in this ball game. They've had a total of 6 hits. And in only 1 inning have they not had a base runner, and that was in the 8th inning when Dustin Hermanson struck out the side. First pitch for ball 1 to Alfonso on the pitch back. A called strike, 1 ball and 1 strike. Joe West, the home plate umpire. Gary Lane, the umpire at first base. Angel Hernandez, the umpire at second. And Paul Runge, the umpire at third. And that pitch a ball, 2 balls and 1 strike. So the umpires also part of this historic evening. First game ever played south of the border, south of Canada and the United States in Major League Baseball history. A little topper down the third. Cianfranco with a bare hand play, but absolutely no chance to get it. Base hit for the Mets.
Mets Baseball 96 being brought to you by Miller Lite. You've got the great taste of Miller Lite. Life is good. By Pizza Hut, proud sponsor of the New York Mets. You'll love the stuff we're made of.
So the Mets with a runner at first base.
And by your local Honda dealer.
And the batter for the Mets will be Ray Ordonez. Ray 1 for 3 in the game, a single his last time up. Alfonso not being held on at first base as the first baseman. Livingston playing behind the runner. Hermanson with his first pitch for ball 1. Mets trailing by a score of 15-3, and a wild pitch there for ball 2. 2 balls and no strikes. That pitch totally getting away. Great crowd here tonight, 23,699. It's a packed house with standing room only in the bleacher area back of the batter's eye in center field. And this crowd has stayed here for this entire ball game. They have not left. And that pitch a ball. It's 3 balls and no strikes. Alfonso had an idea about going to second. He's not being held on, but moved off the bag and started to go and then stopped. His run means nothing in this ball game, and there's a pitch outside. Dodgers are leading their ball game by a score of 4-0 in the 3rd inning. The Mets, after playing here in Monterrey against the Padres for 3 games, go to San Francisco and then end that West Coast trip with games in Los Angeles. And there's ball 4. So the Mets now have runners at first and second base, and Chris Jones will be the batter. Our next game will be broadcast tomorrow night right here on WWOR, and we'll be on the air at 8 o'clock New York time. It'll be Mark Clark going for the Mets, 11-9 in the year against Tim Worrell, who has a record of 7-5. And that game coming to you right here from Monterrey, Mexico. Runners at first and second base. Chris Jones came in as a pinch hitter back in the 7th inning and walked, then stayed in the ball game. And he takes a strike.
Dustin Herman's problem now is keeping his concentration and focus. I mean, walking a guy here in the 9th inning. You got this huge lead.
That is not what the manager likes, and he falls behind here. 2 balls and no strikes. This is his 3rd inning of work. He came in the game in the 7th inning with no one out, relieving Fernando Valenzuela.
He was just called up from Las Vegas AAA at the end of July. Well, he had 5 games.
And a drive into the left field corner. That'll score at least 1 run. The ball fielded out there by Greg Vaughn. And the throw in will hold the runner at 3rd base. So the Mets with runners at 2nd, 3rd, and 3rd, and another run in. They're now on the board with 4 runs, trailing by a score of 15-4, and will go to the top of the batting order.
Chris Jones continues to refuse to give up any at-bats here. They are hard enough to come by for him. It doesn't matter what the score is. He's going to take every opportunity he gets to add to his totals, and he's had some good ones here this season. Again, largely off the bench for the Mets, staying in the ball game. In this situation, was already in the game.
Lance Johnson with a run batted in on a sac fly, 1 for 3 tonight. A single back in the 5th inning. And he takes the first pitch, a called strike. Lance Johnson with 16 3-base hits. That's more 3-base hits than the entire California Angel team. And it's grounded foul to the first base side. And the count runs up to strike 2 against Lance Johnson.
They have to go to Sean Bergman here if Dustin Hermanson is running out of gas.
Johnson with that base hit, now leading the National League in hits with 161, and a chance to become the only player in Major League history to lead both the American League and National League in hits. No one has ever done that. One ball, 2 strikes. And it's fouled back into the stands. Count stays at 1 ball and 2 strikes. Johnson is also leading the league in multi-hit games. He has a total of 53. He has been quite an acquisition for the Mets, coming to the Mets from the White Sox. And it's chopped out to the 2nd base side. Tough play for the 2nd baseman. The throw to first base is in time. And that was Carl Everett. So Carl Everett was pinch hitting for Lance Johnson, and he grounds out. So the Mets pick up another run on the RBI by Carl Everett, and that'll bring up 3rd baseman Alvaro Espinosa. He has had 2 hits and 3 at-bats, also a run batted in with a sac fly. And the first pitch to Espinosa, a called strike. Two strikes the count as Espinosa looks again. Espinosa, the 104th 3rd baseman that has played 3rd base for the Mets. Starting back in 1962, the first 3rd baseman for the Mets in their history, Don Zimmer. 1-2 the count. Espinosa came into this game hitting .339. He fouls off the fastball, and the count stays at 1 ball and 2 strikes. (15-5) now. The Mets have scored 2 runs in this inning. They picked up 3 runs back in the 7th inning after trailing 15-0. Again a fastball, again a foul ball, and it's 1-2.
Almost count on all fastballs now. Hermanson had worked some off-speed pitches to a couple of hitters. Chris Jones still over there at third. He'll be going, and anything hit with the infield back. Hermanson now just trying to throw strikes and stay in the game, finish it up.
Working from that full windup with a runner on third. You don't see that very often, and this one grounded slowly to the second baseman. Play to first base for the out, and another run scores for the New York Mets as Chris Jones comes in from third. So it's now 15-6, and the Mets down to their last out. That'll bring up Andy Thomerson, who is batting for the first time. Tomberlin takes the fastball for ball one. This pitch hit out to deep right field. It's going, and it is gone. Goodbye. A home run for Tomberlin, and the Mets have their fourth run of the inning.
All of these guys coming up battle to get at bats. So no matter what the score here, they must take advantage of it. Andy Tomberlin has got his third home run and 9th RBI in the 35 games that he has been up with the New York Mets. And he just got crushed this one. He had to get down to get it a little bit to the outside part of the plate. He's got great upper body strength, still able to pull it.
And that brings up Todd Huntley, who is 1 for 4 in the game. And this is Brent Mayne, not Todd Huntley, and Brent Mayne batting for the first time. And he hits it hard in the right center field. Should be extra bases that goes through and to right center field. Mayne to second base and holding there as the Mets continue to add on to their batting average here in the 9th inning as they trail in the ball game by a score of 15-7.
And Hermanson's not going to be able to get it done. He had a chance, believe it or not, in this game for his first major league save. And with a 15-7 ball game, he's not going to be able to get the necessary one more out, it looks like.
They gave him every chance to get that first save, and he wasn't able to do it. As Bergman comes into the ball game, and while he comes in to take his warm-up pitches, here's a word from your local Honda dealer.
Also acquired from the Tigers in a deal back in March, has worked both as a starter and reliever, now in the bullpen.
And he'll be pitching to pinch hitter Tim Bogar, and Tim takes a pitch low and outside for ball one.
There are your numbers on Bergman. He has won one game as a starter out of the 5 wins he's picked up this year. Well, as a relief pitcher, rather. The others as a starter.
And he's swinging that foul tip in the count, 1 ball and 1 strike. He will not be in a position to get a save in this ball game.
Great to see that Timmy is feeling better. They found that he had a viral infection in the ear that was causing all the headache problems and just generally not feeling very good. Now that he knows what it is, he feels a whole lot better. Because believe me, when that was going on for about 2 weeks, they just couldn't find out what it was. You obviously, when you have headache problems that won't go away, you got some real concerns.
2 balls and 1 strike on Bogar. And he fouls off the fastball, 2-2. That's down to their last out. They're trailing by a score of 15-7 in the first game ever played here in Mexico in a regular season. And this game brought to you by Televisa and Major League Baseball from Monterrey, Mexico. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And it's ball 3, and it goes to a full count. Bergman, the 3rd pitcher used by the Padres. Pitcher record is Fernando Valenzuela. He will go to 10-7. And on the losing side, Robert Person. He'll be 2 and 4. Ground ball to third. A bad throw to first base by Cianfranco. And the Mets hope stay alive. Good play on the ball at first base by Scott Livingstone. And the Mets have runners at first and third with 2 men out.
Yep.
And that'll bring up Alex Ochoa, the 9th man to bat in this inning. And the first pitch, ball 1 to Ochoa. Ochoa in this game 1 for 3 with a walk.
Bogart goes to second. I think that will be uncontested. I think
it should be.
It wasn't contested.
But you never know with some of the official scores. That ball gets away. A runner will come in from third base. The Mets will get another run. As Brent Maine comes in to score, and going over to third base is Bogart. So the Mets picking up another run in the ball game.
Probably a wild pitch. Bergman had that one down in the dirt, but not much of an effort by Johnson to get in front of it. He just tried to backhand the ball and couldn't pick it up.
And down the third. Cianfranco, another wild throw and another error for the third baseman, Arky Cianfranco, and the Mets stay alive. Another run in for the New York Mets, and they have sent their 10th man to the plate when the next batter comes into the batter's box.
Wow. Tim Bogart crossing easily here. Didn't think he was going to count because he thought it would be the third out, but the throw was off by Gianfranco. The Mets have batted around here this inning. This game, which was ugly to begin with, has really turned into some kind of a mess here as the Mets battle back.
And the batter will be Edgardo Alfonso, and he takes third.
And again, Ochoa goes to second uncontested.
And that pitch is taken low. Ball 2. 2 balls and no strikes. Padres. And they're still down to their last out as they continue to battle away here. The long ball, 4 home runs to just about put it out of reach. And this ball grounded to third. This one foul. So San. And the next pitch is hit on the line to left field for a base hit. Throw goes into home plate, but not in time, and the Mets get another run, and it's now 15-10.
It was amazing. Credit the Mets with just refusing to give up an at-bat here in this 9th inning. And suddenly, if they could get another run across and bat around again, they'd have a chance. And this bullpen has done nothing here to help Fernando Valenzuela. It was a laugher, but right now they're not laughing as hard. Dario Veras up in the bullpen for the Padres.
And amazingly, just about everybody who came to see this game is still in this ballpark. Long drawn-out ball game, certainly not well played. It's now 15-10 in favor of the Padres. The Mets down to their last out of the 9th inning, and Ray Ordonez will be the batter. Ray walked earlier in this inning and scored a run. .26 hits in the ball game. The Padres with 14. The Mets have 12.